Welcome to Snarkworks, everybody. We are a very funny podcast out of the Central Valley of California. I'm Andrew. That's Dusty.
Hey.
Follow us on all the socials and like the YouTube video.
Now, Andrew,
I didn't check the last one.
When you say like the YouTube video, you really mean like it, right?
Yeah.
Like...
I want you to enjoy it, but I also want you to showcase your enjoyment of it by pressing the thumbs up button.
I want your enjoyment to be measured by the robots who check that sort of thing as well.
Press the button.
Yeah.
Press the button.
I need
and you
the
can
robot.
do the bell if you want. The bell's fine. I would appreciate the bell. Press the like button.
I need the robots to start getting information about the videos being liked.
Yeah, and if you're out there and you just stumbled on us and you're watching the first 5 seconds and you might fucking leave, that's fine. Press the like button before you leave.
If you're that guy that hated our Rick Rude podcast, please just hit the like button.
We're nice people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't care if you listen again. I just need you to hit the like button so that the robots know what we're up to.
I'm trying to feed this little maniac.
Oh man. See, if you're
mad at me because I was playing video games last night and knocked over every lamp in my house.
The other day,
I have one lamp.
My the big cat we talk about a lot.
Storm.
My big cat, Storm. I was petting her, and sometimes she'll do this thing where if I go to move my hand away, she'll grab it with her paws because she doesn't want me to. I think it's because she doesn't want me to stop petting her, but it could just be cat hunting instinct.
Yeah.
But then she started biting my hand, which began as a sort of playful, hey, we're just like doing a thing. And then she did that thing where cats grab your hand with their paws and then start kicking you, rabbit kicking you.
Oh, yeah.
With the back of it. And classic I hadn't moved. Yeah, I hadn't moved at all. We had just moved into the second more serious part of that situation. So now I got scratches all over my arm from having to pull my arm away from the cat.
She marked you.
Yeah, we've been going on morning walks.
You and Storm?
Me and the cat. No, me and my wife, we've been going on walks in the morning, and we discovered at the end of our block, there's a house that has 2 ducks, outside ducks.
Hell yeah, dude. Double duck?
Double ducks, dude. And
they've double ducked?
Let me tell you, without exaggeration, the greatest part of my day is when I see those ducks and they come waddling up to the fence.
They come up to the fence?
Yeah. And I see, it's one of those things where as a human, I'm like, oh, this duck is coming to say hello. This duck might have murderous intentions. It just can't do anything because it's behind a fence. I don't know how to tell if it's an attack duck or just a nice duck.
Have you tried? Does it have a laser on its head?
It doesn't have a laser.
Is it wearing a little beret?
No, he's just big, white, orange-billed duck, and then there's a black and white spotted duck.
Oh, they got a white orange-billed duck, a classic duck.
Yeah, just an OG duck, and it sort of flies. Yeah, it sort of flies over from its little. They have like a little pool set up for it. Truly, most delightful part of my day, and I want to pet this duck so bad.
Yeah.
But I think the owner is asleep at the time of day that we're taking the walk, and I don't feel like I have carte blanche to just reach over this guy's fence and pet the duck. So I don't pet the duck.
Dude. Give it a shot.
That might activate attack duck, though, and I don't want that.
Yeah, but that would be funny. I mean, we have a podcast, Dustin.
if I showed up,
podcast?
If I show up on the next podcast and I have a huge wrap around my hand and it's from a duck bite.
Oh man, that'd be the funniest. I would give that duck. That duck would be in the rafters. First Hall of Fame duck.
That's a Hall of Fame duck. Who's your number one duck?
Mighty.
You think so?
I'd say Emilio Estevez.
Right. That's I like the cowboy guy.
Oh yeah.
I think
Rodeo Drive.
I think I got to go Daffy Duck. Classic bits. Daffy Duck. He's
yeah. If you're going duck characters, it's got to be Daffy because like Darkwing is cool, but not as cool as Daffy.
Yeah. Scrooge.
You're not going to go Scrooge.
Is pretty good. Yeah.
But maybe the duck from Friends.
Possibly the duck from Friends. Yeah. So that's accidental discovery has made my morning walks infinitely more delightful. and I think improved the life of the duck. So
yeah, well, let's speak to stay on the topic of neighbors. I got new neighbors, and they smoke weed, Dusty.
oh, the street drug known as marijuana.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I love it. Just being a former pot smoker, not having that in my life anymore.
Right.
Just walking into my apartment and smelling like a stinking rock and roots concert.
Right.
It's fun. I might be the neighbor that talks to the landlord about the smell of marijuana in my apartment, ever present.
Yeah. Well, that's also going to damage your deposit because that is tough to get out of the walls. So
yeah, it's not as tough. Well, residual pot smoke, I'm gonna be fine. But if there was like actual smoke in my apartment, we would have thrown hands. I can beat up a stoner.
Did it increase your desire to listen to Bob Marley?
No, nothing. Almost nothing can, to be honest. I'm done.
I've heard it.
It's good.
I'm
a lot
out.
of it's good.
Yeah.
I don't. They're in the sublime category for me.
Right.
I don't like it. I'm not into it anymore. There's only a few reggae bands that I'll ever listen to, and it's very rare.
Yeah.
But I
rare
also,
gay.
Huh?
Rare gay.
What?
Rare gay.
What's rare gay?
It's you listening rarely to reggae.
Oh, I thought. Jesus Christ! I
nope.
thought you were.
Nope. Wasn't what I was going for.
I thought you were saying it is simultaneously rare and gay.
No.
So I
not all the smashed together words work,
No, that
as
one's
well
tough.
as you'd hope.
That one's tough. Yeah. When I texted you recently, I texted you the
on my cellular telephone that you have the number for.
I think it was like 3 days ago.
Yeah, you're in a select group of people that ever text me. Yeah.
I'm not going to make you read the text verbatim and find it. I said, Dusty, I believe I have found the worst fast food menu item.
Yeah, I'm excited because like there's a lot of places this could go. Let's but you go ahead. You tell me.
I turned to my left. My cat had his head in my box of non-crackers. I moved it slightly, and he is back in the box. Just so everybody knows. You're not going to be surprised where it's from. It's from Burger King.
Okay.
I have the closest fast food restaurant to my apartment is Burger King. You son of a bitch, dude! You just knocked over my non-crackers.
Are you saying non like the Indian bread?
Yeah, Naan. I was eating some cheese and salami.
Okay.
And non-crackers. No, they're non-crackers. NON.
I was like
actually cookies.
I was like, what a weird way to say that box is empty of crackers.
Yeah.
It's a non-cracker box.
It came from Burger King.
Okay.
It is the original chicken sandwich from Burger King.
Oh, you're talking about the long boy?
The long boy.
Oh, see, I like the long boy.
Oh, dude, it is fucking awful. It's awful, Dusty.
To be fair, I've not had one in years.
They've probably changed the formula, dude, because like this thing, like you don't want your chicken to be this kind of juicy.
That is a fair, I could see that.
It was like watery. Like you don't want to eat chicken that sogs up the bun, right?
Right. Wet chicken, not great.
Devoid of flavor.
If it's like, if it's a fillet, like it's supposed to be like a fish or like a chicken fillet, you don't want that wet.
No, and when they say white people don't season their food?
I've heard that claim, yes.
See, I get angry at that claim because I season the shit out of them.
Yeah.
And I am a white person. I'm going to look up how much salt is in the sandwich. Holy shit. Okay, so there's 1,170 milligrams of salt, which is 49% of your daily value in this sandwich.
I remember when they used to sell those 2 for $5. So if you ate 2 Burger King chicken sandwiches, you're at 100% of your salt for the day.
And you're not getting any
nutrition.
Actual taste of salt. I expected the sodium content of these fucking sandwiches to be 50 milligrams of salt. Like there's some in the bun.
Yeah.
Nothing, Dusty.
No.
I don't know where they're hiding this salt. Is it in the wrapper?
I'm gonna blanket statement something that I rarely do. I don't like to rubber stamp big, sweeping generalizations.
Sure.
This is a 2-part rubber stamp. One, okay. Burger King sucks. It sucks.
They suck now. In the past they had some golden eras, but currently, yes, they suck. Everything sucks at Burger King.
I wonder if it always sucked and we just didn't know.
The A1 Steakhouse burger, bro. I can't.
Yeah.
I can't stop the Steakhouse burger, bro. And a Whopper's okay sometimes.
The rodeo cheeseburger was a favorite of mine because
they had frozen Cokes before everybody else.
Yes,
that's a big deal, Dusty.
As of today, sucks.
Ass. Certified ass. Yeah.
Second declaration: I will never eat at Burger King again. I'm out. I'm X'd on Burger King. There are so many better options. There are so many worse options. But like that are good. Like I will stop at I will drive extra to go to Wiener Schnitzel over Burger King now every time.
Oh yeah, you can taste Wiener Schnitzel.
Right. If I want to know where the salt is, it's in the chili that's in the chili burger. I'm sure it's an abhorrent amount.
My tongue will tell me. I don't have to look.
Right.
At some piece of paper.
I'm sure it's an abhorrent amount of salt in Wiener Schnitzel's food. But at least it tastes like something and it tastes good. And I didn't have to wait 35 minutes for it. The Burger King in Exeter, we've talked about it on this podcast before, though worst service.
Yeah.
Every time, 0 people in the drive-thru, 3:00 in the afternoon. Hey, can I get a number 1? 22 minutes later, my number 1 is delivered to me. What are you doing? There is no one here. Yeah. Not a single person in this store. Why does it take so long every time? Hey, can you go around, park in the front, wait for me? No. Mate, you know who never does that to me? Taco Bell. The shit's ready when I get to the window. I don't know how they do it. It's magic. It could be wrong, as you often say.
But the order's always wrong, man. They do something. They're like, oh, wait, shit, we made this order correct. Throw some tomatoes in the wrapper.
Yeah. He said no tomatoes. How many tomatoes we got in the bin in the back?
I hate, dude, when I open the worst reveal. It's like, it's the exact antithesis of when Charlie opens the wrapper slightly in the Willy Wonka, and he sees the golden ticket, like the corner of it.
Ticket, yep.
When I start to open the thing that I asked for no onions on, and there's an onion wrapped in the outside of the wrapper, I want to just reverse and throw it back into the drive-through.
Right, but you can't because they're already on to the next person.
Because there's 6 people in line all the time.
Right. I saw some skepticism on your face. I promise you, I will never eat at Burger King again.
I just think, Dusty, this is my only reasoning. It's my only reasoning. A bind. There's you maybe you visit the White House and President Trump in 2 years caters and McDonald's is closed.
Right.
You know what I mean? Maybe you're having a blood sugar issue and you need some food in you. Maybe I'm just speaking to myself.
Sure.
And all you're going to pass is Burger King on the way to wherever you're going.
I live in a hellscape where there are only Burger Kings. One, to quote Ice Cube, I'll never have dinner with the president. And if I see your ass again, Burger King, I will be hesitant. I can't imagine a scenario. There are so many Carl's Jr.'s. And above that, there are so many Taco Bells.
Yeah, but you're going to live another 5-6 years. So you might run into...
I've got 8-9 months before something bad really happens.
Yeah.
I'm on that CPAP sleep now, baby. I'm ready to go.
New Dusty. Hashtag new Dusty.
Yeah. I just can't... Well, the other part is, one, I live in a very big city now that has lots of food options.
Yeah.
So Burger King, they're at the fucking bottom of every option possible to me. Secondly, they're closing like Spirit Halloween. I know this is a hack joke. Spirit Halloween's waiting outside of every Burger King location, just waiting because they're all closed. The only time I will ever enter a Burger King restaurant again is if, in a blank check movie style situation, I buy a Burger King from some new wealth, and me and my friends live in the Burger King like a house.
Yeah, we really are overthrowing the monarchy, and I think that's a good thing.
I was watching the Olympics, as I am wont to do in this brief period. I was watching the pole vaulting, and this is not going to be talking about what everyone else is talking about with pole vaulting.
That guy's wiener.
Yeah, they all go. Funny. They all go one way. I'm going the other way. That's how
we have to go on record. It's very funny.
It's very funny.
Very funny. Yeah. The slow reveal.
If you're not going to win a medal,
yeah,
you know,
you're a winner in my book. You're a Hall of Famer in my book. To quote the Bill Paxton from Remember the Titans. Oh wait, no, Denzel says that to Bill Paxton.
Yeah,
that's Bill Paxton, right?
That is Bill Paxton.
Okay,
not to be confused with Bill Pullman. Different guy.
I always get him mixed up with that is not Bill Paxton.
Oh, that's the guy that you get Will something, right?
What is his name? Remember the Titans.
Yeah.
Sorry, everybody. This is Will Patton.
Well,
what the fuck, man?
How could you not?
Let's change our names. Let's get our names further apart from each other. Will Paxton, Bill Pullman, Bill Paxton.
It's so close.
Holy shit.
No one can fault you. No jury would convict you of that. There was a gentleman from the Philippines who was doing pole vaulting, whose name was Ernest.
This is what I like that. Okay.
Struck me weird at first because Ernest isn't a name you hear a lot these days. It's an interesting name to have come up.
A lot of Filipinos have like 1940s white guy names.
Right. Like, well, just any name. Just
you're gonna see a guy named Merle.
If I see a dude named Wilbur, that's gonna strike me as odd. And it made me think. And Andrew, you said you looked at the text. Can you read? I'm gonna have you read the actual text.
Yeah, so right under, I think I have a new worst fast food item in the world. Dusty said, "Oh, I very much want to hear about this. I also have to pitch you my Ernest Olympics movie tomorrow."
Ernest P. Worrell. We stand a legend. Unfortunately, Jim Varney has passed away. But if we had a time machine and I could make an Ernest movie, I would make Ernest Goes to the Olympics.
That would be funny if you got a time machine and instead of doing anything good for humanity or making yourself a bunch of money, you go back and try to make Ernest Goes to the Olympics.
No, I don't try. I succeed at making Ernest Goes to the Olympics.
No, but you have to. This is the thing. We need to make this movie. Dusty gets a time machine. He decides that what he's gonna. This is a Homer Simpson storyline. He decides that he's gonna make Ernest Goes to the Olympics because Vern what's his
Jim
I was
Varney.
I was gonna say Vern Troyer.
No,
it's a different movie.
That's a different guy. It's a different dude.
Jim Varney's still alive, and so you have to like go try to get studio approval, and like it ends with you like you finally get the approval because you find Jim Varney, and Jim's like super into the idea.
It's a pretty good idea, if I do say so myself. And this is how I make a bunch of money. I don't use the time machine for nothing. This is my means.
I wonder what the highest grossing Ernest movie is.
Buy Apple stock? No. Ernest Goes to the Olympics. So, our hero, Ernest P. Worrell, gets a job as a janitor at the Olympics. This is how we start the movie.
Of course he does. The Olympics are in Kentucky this year.
That's right.
And for some reason, where's he from?
I have no idea. But wherever he's from, it could be the Atlanta Olympics. However,
he's from Kentucky.
He's
I
from
nailed
Kentucky.
it. I
Yeah.
shouldn't have even questioned myself.
The Olympics.
Jim Varney's from Kentucky.
Right. The Olympics are near Ernest. Ernest gets a job as a janitor at the Olympics. Mm-hmm. He is doing the Zamboni on the ice hockey rink. Accidentally hits the U.S. Olympic goalie with the Zamboni, knocking him unconscious.
Yeah.
And causing
Doesn't kill him.
Nope.
This is an Ernest movie. Knocking him unconscious.
Causing him to have amnesia. So Ernest takes his place as the Olympic hockey goalie under the mask, so no one knows it's him, while trying to get this guy to get his memory back. And Ernest fucking
come on, man, it's a gold medal game, man.
You know what
we really got you back. You know what I mean?
You know what I mean, Bird?
Ernest, you really done it this time, Ernest.
Oh, you stepped in it this time, Ernest. Of course, in the end, right before the gold medal game, guy gets his memory back. Thanks, Ernest, for his service. The U.S. wins the gold medal. While
caveat to that,
yes.
Oh, go ahead.
The last bit of the movie, while they are raising the flags to be saluted on the podium, Ernest's belt loop gets caught. And the end of the movie is the American flag up in the rafters. Ernest is flailing in the rafters while they salute it. Come on.
That's very good.
I did one edit. My initial thought was that the goalie was also going to be named Ernest P. Worrell. And then I realized, or the Olympian that gets knocked out was also going to be named Ernest, so that Ernest could take his place and no one would know. But then I was like, if he's the hockey goalie, he's wearing a fucking mask so no one could tell. So I could take that part of the plot out because that stretches the credulity of my story.
Okay, so I've got a couple punch ups. One,
Ernest has a daughter. Ernest has a daughter.
Ernest has a daughter. Hear me out.
Yeah.
No, one, Ernest. When Ernest hits the goalie, the rest of the team's like the coach is like, you have to be the goalie now, and he's like, what do you mean? There's got to be somebody else, and he's like, no, there's only 11 Americans that play hockey. Like there's
right.
like an exact full starting lineup of Americans that play hockey.
Yeah.
So that's one. Two, the goalie in the goal. So the United States team is the best hockey team ever assembled.
Yeah.
So in the preceding however many games it's got to be. Well, this is funny because the Winter Olympics are in Kentucky, which is hilarious, by the way. But
it could be that he took a job in Canada. You know, Ernest can travel. He doesn't have to be in Kentucky.
I know, but it's funnier if it's where he is. You know what I mean? But yeah. He wins a lottery to be a janitor at the Olympics. That would be very fun.
Yes.
But the
or he wins the lottery, but then he uses the lottery money to buy a ticket to go be a janitor at the Olympics.
Yeah,
because that is as big as the dream that Ernest can have.
Yeah, and exactly, and he gets the Olympic tattoo and like all these things. Like, I can't believe I'm gonna sweep at the Olympics. Yeah. We've been training our whole lives for this.
Yeah, and he brings Bobby and that other guy that's in all the movies.
Yeah, so he doesn't block a shot in any of the games that he starts.
Yeah,
but the American team is so good; they're winning like 9-8. And 11-12 and like all this shit. And Ernest just can't even get luck into blocking a shot.
Right.
But in the gold medal game, right before the third period, because there are periods in goalie.
Right.
And I mean in hockey, the goalie like slips and hits his head and gets knocked out again. And Ernest, they're up by like 2 or something like that. And Ernest has to be the goalie for the final period of the gold medal game.
Oh, I see. Okay. I see.
And there's, because it's in Kentucky, he lets a goal in, it's 5-4, and in the final seconds, Ernest has been fighting. He earlier in the day, something happened that made Ernest smell really bad, like he fell in some trash or something like that. So there's a group of flies has been accumulating around Ernest during the final period. And he's like, come on, man, not during the gold medal game, man. And he's like,
right.
And the final shot is hit, and Ernest goes to swat the fly with the glove.
Right.
And the puck lands in his glove.
Beautiful. That's
American hero Ernest P. Worrell. And he's in the
But he lets the other goalie, he doesn't want to stand on the podium because he's like, oh man, stolen valor. Ernest doesn't want it. Because I really want the scene where Ernest gets his belt loop caught and he goes up with the flags. That's
yeah. He gives the other guy. No, you have to have that.
Yeah.
So like because he is tasked, because he's the custodian. That's who they make raise the flag. So he's like, oh man, I got duties to take care of. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he gets hoisted up with the American flag.
I have a couple of amendments. Do you think it's funnier if they don't know that Ernest is the goalie for most of the movie and he just never talks and he just has the mask on all the time, and that's how you do? Because I can imagine situations where like they go out to a bar and whatever, and he just won't take the helmet off, and they're like, "Well, the guy's got rituals, it's weird." And then right before the gold medal game, it comes out that it's Ernest, and they're like, "Oh, god damn it!"
They were like, "Why is this guy? He hasn't blocked a shot the whole fucking."
Right. And then they're like, "Other Ernest, now you can play." And then in the moment, they need Ernest P. Worrell again.
Yeah, you need that because they find out before the gold medal game, because when Ernest has to come back in, you see him put the mask back on, and the crowd's like booing him and like mad because Ernest is coming. He's like, "Wait, why do they not like me, man? It was an accident." And then he saves the gold medal.
And I think there should be a scene where they're practicing. Ernest is trying to get good at being a goaltender, and it turns out that Bobby is a fucking ice hockey maniac and is really, really good at it. Because there's always a scene where I forget there's the skinny security guard dude that's his friend, and then the fat guy. They're his neighbors. One of them is named Bobby, the guy who doesn't talk. And they're trying to train Ernest, and it turns out that Bobby's like hella good at doing hockey. Because I think that's another scene that you can have in this movie.
Oh yeah, and he's just shredding Ernest to pieces. And he's killing his confidence. He's like, "Man, I can't do this, man. I just want to win it for America, and I screwed up so bad."
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I am on board. We should make this movie. Who could play Ernest? Who's alive that could play Ernest right now
these days? Rainn Wilson. I bet Rainn Wilson could be Ernest.
I don't know, man. Ernest looks like a normal guy. Rainn Wilson looks like actor. He looks like the only way we know what this guy looks like. John Cena. There it is.
Okay, yeah. That fourth Ernest picture on the top, whatever that one is, where he's making that face.
This one?
Yeah. That's comedy. That's peak comedy right
What's
there.
Funnier than that? He bit the face he bit the face off a chocolate bunny rabbit.
Yeah. That's yeah, so I was like building this story out.
That's a great idea.
And I was trying to think like maybe there's a thing where Ernest suddenly has magnetism from some weird accident, because that's and that's how he's able to save the goals.
That's such an Ernest plot point.
Yeah.
That's funny. That's good.
Yeah, he gets polarized somehow in the movie.
You don't have to explain it with real science,
No, it's like the Jurassic.
You just need a guy with a lab coat to say he's polarized.
Yeah, you just need Bobby to write it on the piece of paper.
He goes to a doctor because everything's sticking to him, and the doctor happens to have a hockey puck, and he sticks it to Ernest's chest, and he's like, "You're gonna be fine."
Yeah. So
I don't want to be polarized.
I don't want to be polarized. Got Dang it.
Do you want to guess, before we get into our movie, do you want to guess what the highest grossing Ernest movie ever is? Lifetime gross. This includes everything.
Okay.
I can give you opening weekend too if you want, but I'm going lifetime gross currently.
I think it's Ernest Goes to Jail. Or possibly Ernest Goes to Camp. Those are my two guesses.
Okay, so Ernest Goes to Camp is the number one opening weekend. 6.1 million opening weekend for Ernest Goes to Camp. Lifetime gross, and I don't think you'll be surprised by this just because of the subject matter. Ernest Saves Christmas. Lifetime gross, 28 million.
I thought I should have maybe went with that one.
Ernest Rides Again, not a lot of money.
Yeah, I think it's like they came out like so close together. There's like a really short amount of period or a short amount of time where like a bunch of them came out, and then maybe like a break because they were like too much Ernest too soon.
The Ernest Rides Again made 905,000 in its opening weekend. And 1.4 million lifetime gross. So it didn't get much better for Ernest Rides Again. Does that one stink?
Rough. Which one?
Ernest Rides Again.
I don't remember that one. I remember school, camp, Scared Stupid, jail, and of course, Saves Christmas and Goes to Africa. Oh, the other part of this, if I'm doing a time machine, is he makes this Ernest movie instead of Ernest Goes to Africa. And then he has a non-problematic filmography for Ernest P. Worrell.
And the end of the movie is, though one part in the movie, he's like, well, it was either this or going to Africa. When he signs up for the Olympics.
Yeah. Oh, he's got the two tickets.
It's either going to Africa or going to the Olympics.
Well, he's got the Africa ticket in one hand, and then he sees the location of the Winter Olympics, and it's like $8.
Janitors.
It's like $8 cheaper.
It says janitors needed for the whatever, the 128th Olympiad.
Yeah, in Lake Placid, New York, or wherever he's going.
Lexington, Kentucky.
Lexington, Kentucky. So anyway, any studio executives out there that have hit the like button on YouTube, hit me up, and I'll write your Ernest Goes to the Olympics movie.
God, we should write that movie.
What a hot ticket that'll be.
God damn it! I wish Jim Varney was alive.
And like this is maybe a hack reference, but you know that there used to be a Cards Against Humanity card that was like blank plus blank equals profits. And so in this Ernest plus Olympics equals profits. All right, you ready to wind down our funniest movie podcast bracket this week, Andrew?
But boy, am I.
Yeah. Andrew hates all theme related episodes that we do that require both his time and research to have to watch something.
No, my big thing is it requires fucking 2 months of my podcast.
Right.
I want to be funny for me. I don't want to talk about funny things other people did.
Other funny things, yeah.
United States up by 8 at halftime in the gold medal men's basketball, by the way, just so you know.
Oh, we're up?
We're up, yeah.
Okay. We almost lost to Serbia the other day, bro. Devastating
We almost lost to Southern Sudan. Serbia at least has the best basketball player in the world.
Right.
We lost we beat South Sudan by 1 point.
Yeah.
Not even the whole Sudan.
I get so pumped watching the original Dream Team, anything about the original Dream Team, where it's just like they're just dunking on people who've never seen Michael Jordan before. Like they won't guard him out of reverence for his greatness. Like, yeah,
because they were playing as guys that still played in wicker baskets.
Right. It's like some dude from France, and he's like, no, I can't possibly guard Michael Jordan. Why would I ever?
This ball is much different from the lamb's head that I usually put through the hoop.
And now we almost lost to Serbia, who does have the best basketball player in the world. But, you know. All right. We are talking today about the 2008 film Tropic Thunder. which Andrew and I have.
2008.
Yep.
I have a very funny story about watching this movie in the theater.
Andrew,
I don't know if I've told this on the podcast.
Andrew and I have talked about how there are certain things in this movie that we find to be hilarious, or have found to be hilarious. So I'm wondering if it holds up this time. So we will get to that. What is your theater story for this movie?
So I went to this movie with a friend of ours, Dusty, a friend we used to watch a lot of wrestling with.
Oh, okay.
And we were, let me see when it came out, because it was like the week it came out. Is there like a August 13th, 2008? So I would have, this is 9 days before my 18th birthday. And we had partaken in some marijuana cigarettes.
What?
I hate to disappoint all the children listening. Very, very, very high walking into this movie theater. And it's a small movie theater. It's a movie theater in Porterville. And it's very dark in the movie theater. I don't know why it's so dark in the movie theater at this time. And we want to sit as far away from other humans as possible because we smell like my apartment, right?
Yeah, so, of course.
We walk up and there's like a void in the top right corner of the movie theater. So we have to walk up the center aisle and then walk all the way to the corner in front of the chairs. You know what I mean? And I have my head down and I'm just walking, and I full speed walk my forehead into the wall, the barrier wall, right next to where we were going to sit.
Yeah.
Like there was no slowdown. I don't know why I was walking so fast. My head was down and I just went head first into that wall.
Man, I can't wait to see Tropic Thunder.
Dude, I won't remember watching Tropic Thunder.
Yeah.
The whole time we are sitting there, I am feeling the knot on my forehead, like the big giant mouse on my forehead grow. And it got it was almost a hematoma. I had a big purple bump on my head for like a week.
So that's a 10-8 round for the retaining wall.
Oh, dude, smoked me like Deontay Wilder. And the wall wasn't wood; it was like cement.
Oh man,
yeah,
that's very
fuck me
funny.
up good, dude.
Yeah, that's rough. I went and saw this movie in the theater. This is a big theater going time for me. Not surprising to people who know that I like going to the movies, but this is a pretty big summer. And I remember seeing the trailer for this movie and being like, man, they got Ben Stiller, Robert Downey Jr., and Jack Black to be in this movie. That is a huge huge group of people. So we have, this movie's written, I don't know how to say this guy's name without making it sound like he's the Prime Minister of Canada.
Justin Theroux.
Justin Theroux, yeah. Co-wrote this movie with Ben Stiller, and he's appeared in a lot of movies. He's written some stuff. Like he's a guy that's been around. Ben Stiller directed this movie. He stars in it as Tug Speedman, who is a sort of action movie guy from the 90s. I don't know, like maybe a Tom Cruise kind of equivalent. Is what it looks like to me.
I'd say Tom Cruise is a decent, kind of a more actiony Tom Cruise, because like Tom Cruise did other things too. So like he's not a Sly Stallone, but he's like if Tom Cruise and Sly Stallone had a baby.
Yeah, or he's like doing the Schwarzenegger thing with all the big action movies. Scorcher is his movie franchise.
Scorcher 2, Scorcher 3. Yep. Scorcher 4. Dude, we'll get to the beginning of the movie.
Jack Black plays Jeff Portnoy, who is trying to, it's kind of an Eddie Murphy. His big thing is the Fatties comedy movie about fat guys, where he plays all the characters. Fat Family, where he plays all the characters, a la the Nutty Professor. But sort of closer to what Jack Black's actual career is, because it's comedy movies, you know. And Robert Downey Jr. plays Kurt Lazarus, who is an Australian-born method actor who's sort of a Daniel Day-Lewis type, where he takes his roles in film very seriously, gets into character, which will come into play. Nick Nolte is Four Leaf Tayback, who writes the book that the movie's based on. Steve Coogan plays the director Damien Cockburn, who's trying to make this movie.
Steve Coogan is so funny, dude.
Dude, he's very underserved in this movie. He's very funny in the parts that he's in.
And what was that movie? Hamlet 2?
Hamlet 2 is...
That movie was a fucking trip and a half, dude.
And then the cast is like rounded out with really good guys. Jay Baruchel, Danny McBride, Brandon T. Jackson, Bill Hader's in this. Matthew McConaughey has a fun role. Tom Cruise is the film exec, Les Grossman. What are your feelings on Ben Stiller as a comedic actor?
I think he's brilliant. I mean, I talk about heavyweights all the time, and he was like literally for like a almost throwaway Disney movie that some people have like real nostalgic feelings, that has really good jokes in it. We watched it. I watched it for did we watch it for this podcast?
No, we've never watched Heavyweights. I think you did it for Refund Theater.
Did I do it for Refund Theater? Yeah. I can't remember. Yeah, we did do it for Refund Theater. So Ben Stiller's so good in that movie.
Yeah.
And he kind of just plays White Goodman. I mean, in White Goodman he plays Tony Perkis.
Right.
But in Dodgeball. But he can do rom-com, like the funny but charming loser type thing. He can do tough guy. He can do, like, I think Ben Stiller is one of those guys that is like, he's a funny guy. I mean, his dad's Jerry Stiller, so he's a funny guy, but he also is a very, very good actor.
Yeah.
So I love Ben Stiller. I think Ben Stiller is genuine, like class, one of the class A. I wouldn't put him on like top 5 short list or anything, but genuine class A comedic actors of our generation, I would say.
Yeah, he's sneaky well-rounded. And his humor is also kind of sneaky dark. Like, there's a sort of sinisterness or an edge to like Ben Stiller movies, because so the movies he's written and directed are The Cable Guy, Zoolander, and Tropic Thunder.
Zoolander, bro.
Yeah, I mean... and Tropic Thunder up to this point. But like, this is a big point in his career. He's, Something About Mary's come out, Mystery Men, which is one of the funniest one of the most underrated funny movies I've ever seen, where he plays Mr. Furious, whose superpower is he gets mad at stuff. That,
the most I've ever watched of Mystery Man, it was on a TV screen at Costco when my mom was shopping, and I was just standing there watching it, and I was like, man, this Janine Garofalo lady is kind of funny.
Yeah, it's really funny. There's a line in that movie where he's talking to the bad guy, and he goes, I'm one Pandora's box you don't want to open. And the bad guy goes, it's Pandora's box. And Ben Stiller goes, please don't correct me. It sickens me. And that's that's a line that I've used for years.
I forgot he plays the firefighter in Orange County.
Yeah, Joe John. This is after Meet the Parents and Dodgeball. Like, he's great in both of those movies. And Night at the Museum. So he really can do all the stuff you want him to do. Like, he's completely unlikable in Dodgeball. He's very likable in in his other rom-com roles. He's very funny in Meet the Parents, and he can do like a kids movie. So he's very talented. I don't think Ben Stiller gets the flowers necessarily that he should, because he's also in a few stinker movies.
Yeah, well, they all are. Like, if you're a comedic actor, you're in some bad movies.
Yeah.
The thing about Ben Stiller, and you can see this in a lot of the best guys, is you can tell when you see, like, there's some, like, the choices they make. like the little tiny nuanced things. Like Robert Downey Jr. does a couple things in this movie, like just choices that he makes and sounds that he makes that completely enhance the experience, that you can tell it's not in the script, meaning like it's just a look that he gives, or like a movement that he makes, or a sound that he makes in reaction to something. I just keep thinking about things that Robert Downey Jr. does in this movie. But Stiller, the interesting thing, and I'm I've talked about the commentary for this movie. I really wish I could have like watched it for this, but I don't know where you could find it. Stiller took directing this movie very seriously, to the point where he takes the commentary so seriously that he can't really be. He gets annoyed at how funny Robert Downey Jr. is being in the commentary, and you can tell. I mean, the movie's really well executed. The shots are cool. The nuance of like attacking actors and what this is supposed to be is done so well that like I got to give it to Ben Stiller, man. Like he's unbelievable.
We've got Jack Black, who's sort of in the best Jack Black pocket he can be in. Well, maybe. So he's in High Fidelity in 2000. He's in pretty much. He plays the tough one of the tough bullies in the movie Airborne, which I think you guys watched for Refund Theater.
I don't remember
the skateboarding movie, or not the rollerblade movie.
I don't think we did watch that.
Okay, Airborne. Look up the poster for Airborne. But
I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, he's like in that. He's in Enemy of the State as just like one of the tech guys. He's in a bunch of small things.
I love the tech guy in the action movie.
Yeah, it's like him and Seth Green and all those dudes had like bit parts in these big movies where they were just like, throw to the van, and he's just on a headset being like, he's moving.
He's quirky, so he's eating a burrito.
Right, yeah, and he's not chasing Will Smith in Enemy of the State. So, but in 2000 he's in High Fidelity. Then he's in Saving Silverman, which is also kind of a sneaky, funny movie, underrated.
I've seen some. Yeah, I don't think I've seen that whole movie, but I've seen some Jack Black scenes for sure from that movie, and he's funny.
Shallow Hal, Orange County. Then School of Rock is
he was so good in Orange County.
Yeah, School of Rock is 2003. That might be the height of a Jack Black. That and like with that and Tenacious D, as far as people really liking him, because School of Rock's just a really good movie. And it's the perfect movie for him. Then he's in King Kong, Tenacious D, and The Pick of Destiny in 2006. Not so good. This year
it had its moments.
Yeah,
it wasn't like they're old. If you want real good Tenacious D on screen, watch their like TV show,
the HBO show
they had, or watch a concert, because their concerts are delightful. But not the recent one. No.
But then
we gotta. It's interesting that he got King Kong, because that was when they're like, Jack Black's in a serious movie.
Yeah.
And so I think School of Rock kind of bought him King Kong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's when you're like, oh shit, Jack Black is like an A-list, like top movie celebrity.
Well, and like Nacho Libre is a movie that a ton of people love, where he's really the star of that movie.
My mom didn't think that there could be a funnier movie than Nacho Libre.
Why don't we?
I went to that movie with my mom and my sister, and there are a couple times that I went to movies with my mom and my sister, and my mom was a laugher.
Yeah,
not surprising, and she embarrassed my sister so bad because of how hard she was laughing at this movie and Toy Story 2. Those are the two movies that knocked my mom's socks off.
Just right on the old funny bone, huh?
The Tammy pocket is Nacho Libre and Toy Story 2.
He's in The Holiday, which is like a sneaky kind of fun romantic comedy too. At that point where they're like, like you said, they're like, hey, this guy, we'll put him in anything. People love Jack Black at this point. And then 2008 is Be Kind, Rewind, Kung Fu Panda, Tropic Thunder are like,
the other two are short films.
And this is where it sort of starts to get interesting, is after this is where, because in the Tenacious D documentary, if no one's ever seen it, that came out with the movie, you don't ever have to watch Tenacious D and The Pick of Destiny if you don't ever want to again, if it's not your speed. That documentary is so fascinating because you can watch the movie bombing in real time and these two people having to wrestle with the fact that their movie bombed so hard. And there's like a scene where Jack Black is like, are people sick of me? Like, is my shtick, like, is it up?
I forgot about that. I think I've seen that.
It's like, it's really sad. And then it's like him and Kyle kind of going at each other because the movie's not a success and they need the tour to make up the money that the movie's losing, but they don't want to be on tour promoting a movie that's not making any money.
The budget was 19 to 20 million and the box office was 13.9 million. They lost a good amount of money on that movie.
Well, and you have to remember that those box office or the budgets don't include print and advertising. Those aren't part of the budget. So that's you probably double that.
Another or close to it. Yeah. I mean, that's another at least 10 million on top of that they lost.
Right. And they recorded an album, which is its own thing. I don't think that's in the film's budget, right? So all this stuff has to be successful at the same time. And you in the movie, you can hear Jack Black being like, I think we might be number one, dude. I'm thinking we can make 20 million this opening weekend. And like the return comes in and I think they came in fourth or something. And it's like $6 million or something. And they immediately know, oh, we're fucked. We're not going to make the money back on this movie. And we have to do this entire tour based around this movie's premise that seemingly no one wants, you know, and like, it's just really, it's really fascinating.
Yeah, that sucks.
But he's, you know, he's had a comeback now. He does all the Disney and sort of kid movie things, and good for him. Like, I like Jack Black. I'm not against Jack Black being a successful dude. So
yeah, I mean, he's really truly not as, I wouldn't call him as talented acting wise, but he's a fat Jim Carrey, meaning there's a lot of facial features. He moves really funny. He also makes some really good comedic choices. Like, I think he's really good in Tropic Thunder.
Yeah.
And so Jack Black's a very, very, very talented comedic actor. And then the Super Mario Brothers movie, he got a #1 hit from that movie. Like, that was almost his complete comeback. You know what I mean?
So like, and made $1 billion. So
yeah, I'm a Jack Black fan, man.
Yeah,
I'm a Jack Black fan.
And then Robert Downey Jr. Rounds out the main cast. This will be the last sort of deep dive that I have here, but Downey Jr. is not that these other guys aren't real actors, quote unquote, but he's a real actor. Like, nominated for an Academy Award for Chaplin. He's in Air America with Mel Gibson as the co-lead in the early 90s. He's in Natural Born Killers in 1994. He just can't get out of his own way. Like, he has this has all been talked about, but he has like major drug and alcohol issues all through the 80s and 90s. He's on Ally McBeal, but gets fired because he can't control his drug and alcohol use. He's almost all the way back by the time Tropic Thunder's made, because he gets clean in 2003, I believe is what he said. And like, but at the time that they're trying to make him this comeback, they can't insure him to be in these movies. Like, Mel Gibson, he's in a movie called The Singing Detective where Mel Gibson put up the insurance bond money to basically get him cast in this movie. And he was in Gothica where they held back part of his pay until the movie was over because they were like, we don't know if this guy can film this movie. They kept like 40% of his money. But by the time this is out, he's made Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, A Guide to Recognizing Your Saints, and of course, earlier this year, Iron Man comes out and fucking destroys the universe as we know it, and he's all good for the rest of time. But I didn't know he had the same legal defense team at one point as O.J. Simpson. Like, Robert Shapiro got the dream team together to represent Robert Downey Jr.
They couldn't get him off.
No, OJ.
It's weird they got the black guy off.
They he's here it is. Robert Shapiro assembled the same team of lawyers that had successfully defended O.J. Simpson during his criminal trial for murder, but Robert Downey Jr. was sentenced to 3 years in prison. So,
well, he was literally. What was it when he was found naked in his neighbor's bed?
Yeah, he was high and walked into a neighbor's house and laid down in their bed because they had a door open. Like
he was looking for a nap.
Like a lot of wild shit, and and I, of course, it's not even really worth talking about the rest of his career post this movie. This is the last time Robert Downey Jr. in his career, probably socially, but also that you could get him to be in this movie. I think, like, because after this, he's goddamn Iron Man, and he's they just signed him for $80 million to make 2 movies.
Is that what they signed him for?
Yeah, to play Doctor Doom.
Hell yeah, dude.
Because he's in Sherlock Holmes after this, which is kind of fine. Those movies are okay. He's in Avengers movies. He's in Due Date, weirdly, with Zach Galifianakis, which was kind of like they were spinning Galifianakis off from The Hangover.
I forgot that they made that movie.
And that's like a road trip movie. It is not that great, but I think Robert Downey Jr. is incredibly funny in this movie. Like, he's good,
unbelievable.
He's so good in this movie. So that's all the sort of prep work. Ben Stiller thought of this movie while he was filming Empire of the Sun in the 80s, because so I guess to get out in front of it, the whole premise of the movie is that acting is dumb and self-important, and no one should take it as seriously as anyone does, because Ben Stiller said he came up with the idea because all these guys go to boot camp, quote unquote, for 6 weeks to play pretend soldiers, and then they talk about it like, well, shit, man, I went to boot camp and I had to do all the stuff, and I I was in the shit, and like, you just do pretend. You don't have to go to boot camp to hold a pretend gun.
Yeah, and the real world is just fodder for their experience.
Right, yeah, they're what is it? Stealing a line from Bo Burnham, but like, why do you have to look at everything through the myopic view of your lens or whatever?
Your the myopic lens of your own self-actualization.
Right, like,
this isn't about you.
Oh shit, war is hard. Well, hell yeah, of course it is. So, yeah. If we want to get into the criteria, and then we can talk about the movie through the criteria. The story of this movie, I'm giving a 10. The story makes complete sense. They're trying to make an Apocalypse Now war style movie out of a guy's novel, and everything goes to shit because they have actors who all have egos. Tug Speedman Ben Stiller's character is trying to make a comeback because he tried to go in a dramatic route, making a movie called Simple Jack about a developmentally disabled person, a la Rain Man and I Am Sam, and all these movies in Hollywood, once again pointing out those people's experiences are just so you can make a movie. And that guy's got to have a heart of gold, and he's, all of that shit. So his movie bombed. So now he's on the comeback. And Jeff Portnoy, Jack Black's character, it has all these drug and alcohol problems, and he wants to be taken serious as an actor. So he's in this movie. And then Kurt Lazarus, Robert Downey Jr.'s character, is the accolades-ridden but troublesome bad boy like a Russell Crowe or Daniel Day-Lewis, where he's the real heavyweight that's supposed to lend credibility to this movie. Like, he's supposed to be the anchor. And Steve Coogan, who plays the director, is a first-time director, and he can't handle any of his guys.
Yeah, and what gets lost on a lot of people is the fact that Robert Downey Jr. wears blackface for this movie is a criticism of Hollywood for hiring people who aren't part of certain groups to play people in that certain group. So the joke of all of it is that they hired an Australian guy to play the black guy in their movie. And the only reason that they did it was because this Australian guy lends credit to the movie.
Right.
So like they took this culture and they were like, no, we can't hire a black guy for this. We have to hire this really well-known, well-respected white guy to play this to legitimize this whole project. So like a lot of like we're gonna talk about lines a lot in this, meaning lines being crossed or not crossed and stuff. The Lincoln Osiris character in this movie is like the biggest finger to disrespectful Hollywood of any of these things. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it is an act of it's a touchy way to pay respect to something, but it is truly paying respect to the black actors who have been passed up, or to the Asian guy who should have played Genghis Khan instead of fucking John Wayne.
Right. Or Matt Damon in The Great Wall, or Tom Cruise in The Last Samurai. Right. All of that stuff. Plus the other thing is acting is silly. And Kurt Lazarus takes acting so seriously, not unlike Daniel Day-Lewis. Or even Robert Downey Jr. himself. Robert Downey Jr., when he played Charlie Chaplin, learned to do all of Charlie Chaplin's shit left-handed, because that's how Charlie Chaplin's left-handed, and he dressed as him, and he stays in character offset. And we have long on this podcast talked about how that version of method acting is very stupid.
It's so annoying. Like it's got to kind of work, because people keep doing it and it's not fun to do.
And Christian Bale is like this. And actually in an interview, Christian Bale said he doesn't think he's that good of an actor, and he doesn't want to waste everyone's time. So the reason he takes it so seriously is because in his head, he's aware of how silly it is that he gets to do this as a job. So
yeah. And there's nothing against over preparing, but like Jim Carrey being a dick on the Man on the Moon set is like, it's annoying, you know, but it's
like you said, trying to pretend that by dressing up in era appropriate costumes and not taking penicillin because you got pneumonia, Daniel Day-Lewis, that you are somehow better embodying this character that also isn't real. That's not a real dude. Bill the Butcher is based on a guy, but also you don't have to do that to pretend to be Bill the Butcher. If you do, maybe you're a bad actor. Like,
I need to watch that movie, by the way, because I've heard that movie's amazing.
It's pretty. It's too long. It's pretty good. Yeah. It's pretty. It never gets.
Isn't it 3 hours?
Yeah, it never gets to where I think it wants to be. Kind of like Killers of the Flower Moon to me, but it's still fun.
And along the same lines of this movie, it's a perfect Tropic Thunder. I mean, it would have fit as a story in this movie. Jim Carrey said that he felt he was possessed by Andy Kaufman.
Right.
Hey, no, you weren't.
Stop that.
No, you weren't.
And
there were even some things in that movie that he got wrong about Andy Kaufman. Would Andy Kaufman possessing you have allowed that to happen?
Why are you being a dick to Jerry the King Lawler, who was Andy Kaufman's friend? If Andy Kaufman,
you just didn't have that context.
Yeah, Andy didn't. Andy didn't tell you that. In your deep,
it was a work. You son of a bitch. Wrestling's not real.
In your deep meditations. Right. So it's all of that gives context. So then Damien Cockburn, the director, decides that to get the real motivation out of his actors, because they miss a shot that's going to cost a lot of money, because he can't get his characters or his actors to listen to him. So Four Leaf tells him that he needs to take them in the real shit, take them in the real jungle, and force them to live it, because they're too pampered. Right.
Yeah.
And that when that happens, they're in the jungle. Damien steps on a landmine, kills himself, and then
just completely vaporizes, except for his head, which is very funny.
And then the actors actually are in danger because they've been taken unknowingly to them to Laos, where there's a heroin manufacturing situation. I don't know. Plant? Can it be a plant?
I'll call it a plant operation. There's and Tug Speedman, so Ben Stiller, and a little bit of Jack Black.
Yeah.
Because Jack Black is Jeff Portnoy. I keep wanting to say Mike Portnoy, but isn't he in?
He's the drummer of Dream
Alice in Chains.
No, he's the drummer of Dream
That's
Theater.
what it is.
Yeah.
So I think those two characters are the two that still kind of think they're in a movie. But Robert Downey Jr. is like, hey, asshole.
Yeah.
The director just clearly exploded in front of us.
Yeah. What does he say? This motherfucker's dead.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's, hey, assholes.
He's not playing God.
Yeah.
He's being judged by
him. Yeah. So Tug Speedman goes off by himself because he believes that he's still in a movie. And the other guys listen to Robert Downey Jr. and they go off the other way. And then they all end up at the heroin plant. And they find out that Tug Speedman has been taken hostage by the heroin manufacturers. So they have to rescue him, a la the book that they are trying to make this movie out of.
Yeah.
And I just think, like, is it the I don't know, is it the best story of all time? No. Does it probably have like does it stretch credulity? Yes, but as the spine for which this movie exists, like, that's a 10 out of, like, there's a lot of thought put into the story of this movie as a way,
Yeah.
as a method to put the jokes together.
Yeah, I gave it a 9.5.
Like, and I've been on record, I think this is the best comedy movie about making movies. Like,
are there other comedy movies about making movies?
Yeah, there's like there's one called State and Maine that I think is about making like an independent movie. There's this one, it seems to me, and I'm sure there are other ones, like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is kind of about making movies, and that's Tarantino's sort of thing. But like, yeah. I think this one, it is a person who is so in the machine, able to look at the machine and point out all the ridiculous things about the machine and really do it and go kind of hard at the establishment. Because like, that's what you want out of a lot of things that you watch. If they're supposed to be mockumentaries or they're supposed to be satires, you want it to go hard, and most of the time they end up not really living up to it because you don't want to go too hard and upset all the people that are the actual power players in this situation, you know?
Yeah, it's I gave it a 9.5 because I gave the 40-Year-Old Virgin an 8.5.
Yeah.
In story. This is a better story than that one by quite a bit, but I couldn't give it a 10 because it is such a, like, it's such a bad idea to put them in the shit. Like, it's just, it doesn't,
right.
I understand that, like, Cockburn is supposed to be kind of an idiot in certain ways. You know what I mean? Like, right. But like, you're going to make a movie with all like wide shots, and then he was going to be there and like film them, but it's just executionally,
right.
You can't make a movie like that. And apparently this made a movie by the end, you know, but I'm giving it a 9.5. It's a brilliant story. It's about as good of a story for a comedy movie you can get. And I just love that these guys were just taking the piss out of Hollywood while being parts of Hollywood, and even in certain ways taking the piss out of themselves. So I think, and the fact that it all came in the end, they ended up reenacting the 4-leaf scene almost like beat for beat in certain ways, in what is supposed to be a real scenario.
Yeah.
So
well, and the fact that they weren't instantly murdered by the flaming dragon heroin army is a little tough when they don't have real guns.
But they're valuable.
Right.
That's the thing. They are valuable. But yeah, they did. Like,
I mean, they get
farmer, motherfucker.
They get into a firefight with them a couple of times, and that's, you know,
with fake guns.
I was thinking of, there's a movie that came out earlier this year called American Fiction, which I think is trying to do a similar thing as a lampoon and a satire about a writer, an African-American writer who writes really difficult fiction that's not very popular. And then there's a lady that he's jealous of who wrote kind of like a what's that? Precious, the the book by
Sapphire.
yeah, like that style of book, and everyone's giving her all this acclaim and credit, and he's like, but is that a real experience? So then he writes like a drug dealer sort of gangster book with all this fake or with all this bad like the prose are wrong and bad and things are misspelled and all of this stuff, and he writes it under a nom de plume, and it becomes hugely successful. And so then it's like he has to pretend to be this guy in interviews and stuff, and he hates it because he thinks that he's being like he's perpetuating stereotypes and stuff. But I don't think that movie got knocked for like, man, that's a really great idea, and then just not going the as far as people thought that you could go to really point out that type of thing. And I think that this
Yeah, what's that movie
it's
called?
called American Fiction. It's pretty good. Uh but it's like you wanted people wanted more, I think. Um
Yeah, that's the thing. You really have to, if you're gonna do
right.
this.
You have to you almost like again well so I will say that to me
the the best-selling novel was called We's Lives in the Ghetto.
yeah uh and uh I I think that the movie does a very good job if you're a discerning person of the reason that it works for me is that all the jokes are about Robert Downey Jr. in blackface. They're not to me they don't seem to be jokes at the expense of black people. They are how stupid Robert Downey Jr. is and how stupid his character is and how ridiculous it is that he is doing this and pointing that out. And that's
And they were pointing at, they were pointing at the joke, at what hacky white people think black people are.
right.
Like if you take the best Oscar winning white actor and you make him play a black guy, all he's gonna do is do the theme song of the Jeffersons,
Right.
and talk about collard greens
Yeah.
and like all these things that, like, because he doesn't have the context of he has a very surface level, even though he's a method actor, and I'm sure he, spent a bunch of time in Watts for this or something like that. He still only has a surface level understanding of the culture,
right.
so he can't actually do a good job, like a good job portraying a true Black American. He can only portray a parody of a Black American.
Yeah.
And
they do a good job. Brandon T. Jackson plays the other African American guy in this movie, and they have him as the counterbalance, and it really works because
it's so good that they had
that it would leave it missing if they didn't have him there to very pointedly point out the thing, because there's the part in the movie where he goes, I don't know why you're still doing this Chicken George shit, it's beyond me. And even Robert Downey Jr.'s character goes, I don't know why I'm doing it either. Like he
multiple times in the movie he says he doesn't know why he can't get out of character.
And I think that that's the important delineation. If people were upset, if people don't think it's funny, I can't say that it's not offensive to those people. But I think the movie tries its best to be like, hey, this is the thing we're making fun of. And I think that
I'll say that I agree with you. If a black person looks at that and is bothered by it, I can't really. If a white person looks at that
right.
and has a problem with it, they're obnoxious and annoying. They are surface level, in my opinion, because they can't look into what that character actually was. You know what I mean? Like, because if it is very clearly what it is, in my opinion. But I can't say that I have the black experience, so I can't call them dumb or say that they're wrong. I'm in no place to do that. But if a white person has a problem with Lincoln Osiris, we're going to have a conversation. That's where I'm at in this scenario.
So, jokes in this movie, I have to give the jokes like an 8. Because I think the written jokes are funny. I think the funniest stuff in this movie is probably improvised, and then I can't give it credit for that because those are funny jokes, but they weren't written. I don't know if that makes sense or if that makes a difference. Like,
it could be your personal delineation. I mean,
yeah.
I think improv jokes are just as valid in terms of this rating. That's how I take it. I take them into account, but totally fine to make that delineation yourself.
Yeah. Some
I,
or so,
I gave the jokes an 8.5.
yeah.
I because the jokes in Dumb and Dumber are funnier and more often than the jokes in this movie.
Yeah.
But the jokes in this movie are fucking good, man. They're really A-tier comedy movie jokes, and they're smart and they're pointed,
Yeah.
and they are a lot of them are really well thought out. I mean, and just lines, just like when he said Robert Downey Jr. I laughed when he said, "Well, first of all, survive."
There's a scene early in the movie, whenever they're still making the Hollywood production of the movie,
Yeah,
where it's the big. We've all seen war movies. It's the big
set
triumphant
piece.
set piece,
Yeah,
and the Ben Stiller's running out of the jungle, and it's the scene from Platoon. The guys behind him are shooting him with a machine gun, and the very famous scene in Platoon where he's got his hands up and he's being
yeah,
shot, but they take it to 11, and
yeah.
it's
He gets shot like 25 times.
and he looks like a marionette, and he's like
Yeah.
he's flopping around, and Robert Downey Jr. serious as just as serious as a heart attack looks from his perspective and just goes survive. And
Yeah.
it's so funny. There's not like it's also one of those things where I think that's funny no matter what. I think that's funny if you don't have any of the context. But this movie also operates on if you have even a base understanding of film language or have seen a lot of movies or understand the even the surface level inner workings of how movies work, these jokes go up another level. Like
Yeah,
that
because
platoon thing is so funny because they're
yeah,
taking oh, the platoon thing serious? Guess what? Our guy's going to get shot 15 more times, and that makes it even more serious.
they're taking they're like you said, it's turning to 11, but they're taking it and boiling it down to what the person was like simplifying what you're seeing in these movies. Because like in a real action movie, it would have cut to the guy and the guy would have been like, "Come on, man, just keep walking or
Yeah,
make it," or
yeah.
something like that. But he just boils it down to survive.
And
And then he goes to try to save Robert Downey Jr. and he's doing unnecessary rolls, and he shoots a guy from behind his gun behind his back.
peekaboo, I see you. He says to the guy as he's doing the gun behind the back. That had to be an improv. If that was written in the script, give Justin Trudeau $100 million. Like
it's just perfect.
I think it's also like this movie that they're attempting to make is not Ernest. Like you can not Ernest goes to jail, not Ernest not Ernest goes to camp. There is a sincerity, even if it's still capitalist and it's still commercial. I think in things like Saving Private Ryan or Platoon or these movies that are trying to show you the horrors of
Yeah,
war. And this movie is the craven attempt. It's the pure capitalist attempt to like manipulate you and take your money because that scene is in there to manipulate you. Like the whole movie that they're attempting to make is like if you tried to think, well, what's the movie we can make that would make $50 billion or whatever. Like there's no sincerity in it.
well, and they were billing it as they were making it. They were calling it the most expensive war movie ever made, just so everybody knows, hey, we spent a lot of money
right.
on this
And
movie. That's what you should focus
and
on.
like you said, they got Kurt Lazarus to be like, no, see, our movie's a real movie. We got the best actor and we gave him the best role, even though he shouldn't be the actor in this role.
And they show you that with the opening scene.
Yeah.
Right before, I think it's DreamWorks. Who's it that made this?
Yeah, DreamWorks made
It's
it.
not Is it DreamWorks? Yeah. It's whoever. But before they because you have to show the studio in this movie. But before they show the DreamWorks logo, they play a bunch of trailers, fake trailers that they made, and it starts with a booty sweat. It's a music video slash commercial.
Dude, that thing scared the shit out of me when I saw it in the theater because it's so loud.
Yeah, it comes out of nowhere. Yeah, and it's the rapper's name is Al Pacino, which is fucking great, and because also making fun of the reverence people have for like Scarface and shit, right? And he's selling booty sweat and bust a nut bars.
Get them at the concession stand now. That's
and then it goes to the Tug Speedman movies, where Tug Speedman was an action star in these Scorcher movies, where the premise of these movies is that the Earth stops spinning
and becomes very hot.
And it becomes very hot because it stops spinning. So he has to save the world, and it's a helicopter shot of him on a mountaintop, and then they're like, and then when it happened again and again. So the Earth has stopped spinning 5 times now.
No one saw it coming 4 more times.
Yeah, that's what it is. And then, so the last one, they want to make another one, but they have to change it up a little bit, like they do with these movies that they remake. And the Earth stops spinning, but it freezes over. Yeah. And it's Tug Speedman, and this is one of my favorite lines in the whole movie.
It's the same, but now different. Is how they say it. Because the Scorcher logo is on fire, and then it freezes over into ice.
Yeah. And it's another helicopter shot. It's the same helicopter shot, but he's on top of a mountain, and he's holding 2 guns, 1 gun in each hand, and he's got 2 babies in one of those front-facing baby backpack things. And so he apparently saved these babies as well. And it just says, he goes, "Who left the fridge open?"
And it pans around to a one shot of just his face, grizzled with the machine guns. "Who left the fridge open?" And
then it shows the release date, and it goes, "Here we go again." Again.
Yeah. And it's to, that's again taking on like kind of taking a shot at Cruise too, like the Mission Impossible movies, where it's like, again, can there be yet another impossible mission? How is it possible? And they have to
eventually we're gonna start believing these missions are possible,
right? If you can do 2 of them, there's at least 2 possible missions. So they and they have to like, well, shit, we've done fire so many times. What do we do now? Oh, what if we did ice instead? And then they cut to the next trailer, which is Jeff Portnoy. They're at a very fancy restaurant. It's a French restaurant, and you see, it's like the Bear and shit. You see all the silverware and the plates and the knives and everything.
And of course, in the background is blum, 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 blum,
and then all of a sudden, a fart out of nowhere, and then "Come On Feel the Noise" by Twisted Sister.
Is that the song that starts playing?
That's the song that starts playing, and then the guy's flower flips down like it's dying.
It wilts. It wilts because of the toxic gas that's in the air.
And we see there's the biker dad, there's the kind of Kelly Osbourne sister who's grossed out, there's the granny, there's a teenage boy who has a shirt, I think, that says oh no, that's from Bad Santa. I can't remember what his shirt says, but it's one of those fluent in sarcasm sort of shirts, and it's "The Fatties Fart Too." And then
fart too.
and all the stuff is in bubbles.
It's in gas clouds. Yeah.
And at the end they cut to the biker dad, and he goes, "In some countries it's considered a compliment." Like, it's such a good, like, that's why I appreciate this movie so much. That's why I think it's so funny, is because it's got the correct pitch on how to satirize all of these things, but still seem believable. The Fatties Fart 2 doesn't sound like an insane thing to make a movie out of,
Yeah, well, and that many farts is too much, but it's because it's being satirized. You know what I mean? Like, even the dumbest of Americans, that's too many farts, but it's close enough,
right,
to something that a lot of people would watch, that it makes it work in the thing. And then it moves on to Kurt Lazarus's film about 2 gay priests.
It won the Beijing Golden Tiger Award.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the I wrote this down. The winner of the Beijing Film Festival's coveted Crying Monkey
Oh.
Award.
Yeah.
And it's basically it's two priests that live in a real priest parish,
Yeah.
right? And it's him. It
Or they're
is
monks. It's like a
5-time.
monastery or something. There's, yeah.
Yeah. But it's 5-time Oscar-winning actor Kurt Lazarus and MTV Movie Awards Best Kiss winner Tobey
Yeah.
Maguire. And there's a really long shot of they're standing there and their priest beads are hanging off of them,
Yeah.
and Tobey Maguire is like very sexily caressing, and then
Yeah.
while they're praying, so they're like covertly, he's very sexily caressing the beads. You can make of that reference what you will. It is what you think it is. And then it just cuts to Kurt Lazarus screaming.
No, it goes, one man dared to question his God, and then it's that scene of him going, "Wow!" just with the thunder as the background.
I forgot there's thunder in the
and
background.
then it comes up, Satan's Alley is the name of this movie.
Yeah, and when the thing comes up, you hear a whisper in the background. He goes, "I've been a very bad boy, Father."
And again, it's like these are movies that get made that are supposed to be, oh, this movie's about something. This is a dramatic. This is
deep and poignant.
This isn't a movie. This is film right here. We're representing something, and it's supposed to be very serious. But Kurt Lazarus screaming into the sky, supposedly at God, is so funny. Like, I read Tobey Maguire was so up to do this. He only had 2 hours to film the Satan Alley's trailer, and he came to do it anyway.
It's such a good idea.
It's so funny.
These jokes at the beginning, I got the I thought the the Tug Speedman thing that got me as a 17-year-old. I didn't understand the brilliance of the Kurt Lazarus thing until like seeing it as an adult, and it's just because it's like it is so up its own ass.
Yeah,
and they think, and this is a theme throughout the movie, that they think if they play some group that has been ostracized, they're automatically going to win an award. Like they do this on purpose. Like, we should make movies about gay people. We should make movies about the black struggle. We should make movies about all these things. I'm not saying that at all. Right. But Hollywood is very transparent in that they make these movies in order to win awards because they know this is an Oscar style movie. Like, as soon as you found out, like, we made fun of Bradley Cooper's nose, but as soon as we found out he was going to put that nose on, we know he's going to okay, now Bradley Cooper's trying to win.
Now he's an actor. Right. Yeah. Well, and that's also part of the Kurt Lazarus skin transformation, is like the Academy Awards legitimately like whenever like a very pretty actress, quote unquote, uglies herself up to be in these movies, that's what they give awards to. Or Charlize Theron as Eileen Wuornos gets an award. Nicole Kidman in The Hours gets an award. Like, it's funny because it is so right. Like, it's and they're taking the craven, because all of Hollywood and all of movies, all of it's craven because the point's to make money. And so, like, they will go, oh, what's a story we could tell that's gonna tug at the heart. Like, even Cool Runnings, which is a movie I love, and I love a lot of these movies. That movie is very clearly, whenever they take the goddamn bobsled and they're walking it down the
on
thing,
their shoulders,
with the music playing, they're manipulating you because they want you to be like, goddamn, they really overcame something here. And then it turns out that all the other bobsled teams were real nice to them in real life. But that's not,
and they didn't carry the bobsled
right. But that's not a movie. You can't make a movie out of really nice Olympians going to bobsled together.
You need the damn Swiss.
Yeah, you can't have that movie. So other joke, like the entire scene where Steve Coogan is talking about how he's God now. They're in the jungle and he's God and he's gonna get the shots, and they don't go home until they get the shots. And he steps on the landmine and explodes, except for his head, and Ben Stiller's character is convinced only halfway but convinced that it's special effects head. He goes, look at this really, really realistic latex head with warm fake blood.
He goes, it's just corn syrup, guys.
Yeah.
And he puts his hand in it and he licks it and he goes, it's warm blood flavored corn syrup.
Yeah. And they're talking through them what they're gonna do next, and Robert Downey Jr. just won't let it go. Hey, this motherfucker's dead. He's super duper dead.
He's not playing God. He's being judged.
Yeah, and then we get to
I said that earlier.
we get to one of the best lines in the movie where Ben Stiller is like, okay, so you don't think the movie's real anymore? And he's like, no. And he goes, then why are you still in character? And he goes, man, I don't drop character till the DVD commentary. And that again is also you can talk about, I think, what you're going to talk about, but like that's the movie. Is he doesn't believe that it's real anymore. He thinks Damien's really dead. He can't stop being Lincoln Osiris. Even if he wanted to be, he can't stop it, and he doesn't know why, but he can't. And that, like, the characters calling him on that is so important to the integrity of what they're trying to pull off, where if he just stopped doing it and he was suddenly Australian Kurt Lazarus in the blackface, that's way more of a problem, I think, than like, oh, this guy just can't do it, you know.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a problem,
not a problem,
but it's not as good. You know what I mean? Like, it's not as it doesn't work, and it points out. And Ben Stiller has a line later in the movie where he's saying that when Ben Stiller's going crazy, he basically points out, he's like, you just don't want to be yourself,
right?
Like you can't stand to be yourself, so you bury yourself into these characters, and you don't know how to turn it off because it's a problem that you have. It's not like some great actor strength that you have. It's a problem that you have. And what I was going to point out, which you probably saw coming, Ben Stiller didn't break character in the DVD commentary. You
mean Robert Downey Jr.
in the DVD? Yeah, Robert Downey Jr. Robert Downey Jr. plays Lincoln Osiris the whole commentary until the moment he becomes Australian again in the movie. And he's like, oh, hell, I can't do an Australian accent, but he's like, oh, what's up, guys, in an Australian accent. And the whole rest, and then I can't remember, but I think during the credits he becomes Robert Downey Jr. and starts talking in his own.
Well, and voice. As Lincoln Osiris in the DVD commentary, he's commenting about the movie, but he's being like, "Damn, what a hell of a look at that cool ass shot that I'm in." Like,
oh, dude, there's this part where he goes during the big set piece part. He's Ben Stiller's talking because he's talking about how this is we had one shot at this explosion, like, and he's like, well, it was so expensive, and we were really nervous about it. And Robert Downey Jr. cuts him off and goes, "Look at this shit, man, fucking Bacall."
And I think Ben Stiller, like, because it's an action movie that's also a comedy, so I could imagine it costs a ton of money, you know, and it's a big.
Yeah. Did you look up how much this movie cost?
Yeah, $95 million. It's like a big studio movie that he's in charge of, the biggest movie he's ever been in charge of. So I can imagine his stress at having to deal with that. There's the scene that we always talk about where they're going to, so they're with Ben Stiller. Ben Stiller's the leader, and they're like, okay, we'll go with you. And they're just walking, and Jay Baruchel, who's sneaky underrated in this movie as one of the the infantrymen, they stop.
He's the voice of reason throughout this whole. The one guy that's not so far up his own ass. If you look at it, sorry.
Go ahead.
The more famous these guys are, or the more respected as actors they are, the more detached from reality they are. Each guy, because Jay Baruchel is the most. He's just getting into acting. He's not hasn't been in a lot of stuff. And he's still attached to reality. Yeah. He's still like just talking like a normal dude the whole time. Just doing what
he read the In-Flight magazine. He's read the book that it's based on. He went to the boot camp. He's doing all the stuff.
Yeah, and then Al Pacino is famous, but he's a musician who is now an actor, right? And he is not fully detached from reality because he's like the voice of reason when it comes to like Kurt Lazarus and all that stuff. And he doesn't really take a side on, he doesn't think they're in a movie anymore. You know what I mean? But he is also like trying to work booty sweat into a period piece about the Vietnam War. Right. You know what I mean? He's like, you always say the line, good thing I found some booties. I guess I'll just drink this booty sweat I picked up in Da Nang or whatever he said. And then,
or no, go ahead.
Go ahead.
That's
and then Jeff Portnoy is so out of his mind on drugs that he seems like a normal guy, but he's just so in his body because he is just detoxing on drugs the whole time that he's a pampered actor. He is he's all these things, but he's also like questioning himself and going through all these things because he's detoxing from this drug. But then you get to Tug Speedman, who is almost completely detached from reality because he is just so stuck in trying to legitimize himself as an actor that he doesn't want to be had by this. He doesn't want to be a mark, get worked by this whole situation. And then Kurt Lazarus is just playing a black guy the whole time.
Right. Well, and there's a scene in the movie where they're talking about Tug Speedman needs this movie to work because his career is in a free fall. And
because Simple
Jack ruined his career. And there's an interview with him and Naomi Campbell. And she goes, "You're on the wrong side of 40. You're not married. You know, kids." A close friend of yours said, "One more."
That was Tyra Banks.
Or Tyra Banks, sorry. One more. What is it? One more failure, and it might be it for him. And he goes, "Someone said they're close to me." Like he needs it to work because his career is devastated at this point, right?
And it's all he's got.
It's all he's got. So,
he doesn't have anything other than acting, and the Scorcher movies, he's made enough of them, and he's trying to evolve as an artist, and he really swung and missed with Simple Jack. And that whole thing around Simple Jack is like, it's a touchy subject. That's the one that like I understand if people have a problem with like the language used because they say retarded a lot in this movie. Like Ben Stiller, I wrote down his line. He said, and this kind of illustrates why I think that this is different than like Joe Rogan the other day saying retard on his special. Right. He says, he goes, he's this is the, you never go full retard thing, but he goes, yeah, I just, I watched a lot of retarded people. I spent time with them. I observed all the retarded stuff they do. And it's like, these guys aren't respecting these people when they're trying to act like them. And that's the point of that entire thing. Even Kurt Lazarus, the "you never go full retard," which has some of the best lines in this movie. The Forrest Gump line.
Well, we talk about
slow, yes, retarded maybe, braces on his legs. But he charmed the pants off Nixon, man, and he won a ping pong competition. That ain't retarded. And it's like the line itself, I will admit, I think is very funny. Like in a vacuum, I think that line is funny. But it is the reason that these people are throwing. Well, first of all, it's 2008, and but also the reason that they are being so insensitive about this is because actors don't give a shit about their subjects,
right?
And that is the point of this entire thing. That's why, like, Ben Stiller delivers that line the way that he does. He talks like he's acting like he's talking about how he wrote some amazing book or did some great philanthropy. Yeah. But he's literally saying, I observed all the retarded things that they do.
Or that he's like Jane Goodall in the,
yeah, exactly.
Like in the
that's a really good
detached but watching. And it's like everything in this is the issue with that particular storyline is that like everything in the movie's turned up to 11 so you can satirize it.
Yeah.
But when you turn that up to 11, that and the same thing with the Kurt Lazarus, and the blackface, like the problem becomes where's the line where you're making fun of the guy? But again, they spend the movie making fun of Ben Stiller because Ben Stiller is so wildly incorrect in the pitch that he goes for. But I dare you to watch I Am Sam and think that is a sensitive, true portrayal of a disabled person. That's what they're making fun of. Is Sean Penn did that thinking he'd get an Oscar, and everybody was like, whoa. you can't do that. Nobody wants that. And there's a long history to, the Leonardo DiCaprio in What's Eating Gilbert Grape, and they list other ones in this movie. Dustin Hoffman in Rain Man, autistic, yes. But I can see, and again, I understand the,
yeah, I don't get mad when people have
but
an issue with this.
I think that's where they can miss the mark, because you have to get the point across, you have to make it so big that hopefully no one can miss the point of what that they're trying to make. But even in making the point, it can be insensitive, and I think that's the problem they run into.
And I think that's why they gave Simple Jack the teeth,
right?
And why he plays it to the point where he's not even really mimicking any type of common mental illness. Right. Like, he's so off that, like, he's not, like, the stutter and, like, all these things. Like, I think they were very careful with how they portrayed that, even though you really can't do it without offending some people, which, like I said, I understand. I mean,
The Ringer with Johnny Knoxville is like 2 years old at this point. I think that comes out in like 2006. And
and that movie was pretty sensitive,
right? And they had real actors in it. So that's the other thing is it.
Have you ever seen Riding the Bus with My Sister?
No, I don't think so.
So I don't know if you know this, but Rosie O'Donnell.
Yeah, I think I've heard of it, given what you're showing me in this picture.
Played was in a movie with Andy McDowell, who I think, by the way, might be my one. Andy McDowell,
your crush of all time.
My ultimate actress crush. I love Andy McDowell, but watch Riding the Bus with My Sister, where somebody is being serious and trying to portray this, and then watch Tropic Thunder and tell me which one is more offensive. Because it's Riding the Bus with My Sister, because she's actually trying to play somebody with, I think it's Down syndrome, but I'm not sure, because I've only seen clips from this movie. I haven't watched the whole movie, but it is so offensive.
Yeah. I think the lines are offensive, and certainly using words that people don't want to use now, and that's fine. I think the point that they're trying to make is still salient. It's just hard because, again, like you said, watch I Am Sam and really tell me that Sean Penn is doing like good work, or that someone could watch that and go, oh, that is a sensitive, real portrayal of a person. Like,
it's like, tell me which one you think is more offensive.
Right. And he's doing that to win an Oscar, which makes it worse. Like, that's, again, it's because of capitalism. And so they could put above the title Oscar winner Sean Penn, and he didn't get the Oscar. And now,
and Ben Stiller's doing what he did to criticize Sean Penn. Right. It's not to make fun of or even emulate the mentally challenged. Right. It's to make fun of and emulate actors who think that they are going to win this thing by doing an impression of somebody who is actually,
and that winning the thing is worth doing the impression. Winning the fake statue that other people voted on is worth doing this thing. That's like really upsetting. So, so they're on the river. They come to a river, and this is a thing where, like, the movie is very smart. This is why I enjoy watching this movie so much. Is Jay Baruchel's character is going pee, and Robert Downey Jr. sidles up to him and is like, hey man, I don't have to pee, I need to talk to you a second. And he like starts pouring his water canteen on the floor, and he's like, if I get you the map, can you look at it and tell me where we're at, because we're lost. And he goes, this ain't a movie anymore. You want to really die? You want to really get shot by some motherfuckers? Or do you want to get shot by some real motherfuckers? Dude,
he opens it with, I'm gonna be real with you, dude, I don't have to pee, or something like that.
Yeah. And then he leaves, and he goes like, that's weird, smelled like asparagus, or whatever he says.
Whatever he says.
And then Ben Stiller sidles up to him. Jay Baruchel has the longest pee in human history, but Ben Stiller comes over to him and is like, hey man, I need to level with you, I don't gotta pee. and he
Yeah, the same
and
thing.
he stabs a can of booty sweat and starts fake peeing. So and he's like, "Hey, Lazarus."
And it
Right.
explodes. Like he stabs it and it's just shooting
Yeah.
all over the place. And if you look in the background, Robert Downey Jr. looks over, is like, what the, like the look on his face, like, what the hell is
Yeah.
happening over there?
And he's like, Lazarus is way out on a limb in this character. He wants to sabotage the movie because he's like risking his reputation. And he's like, just follow me and I'll get you a teen choice award or whatever. He tells him. And
He says, I think he says that he goes, I think there's a Teen Choice
oh
award in there
yeah.
for you. He's like, they'll slime you and everything.
and Jay Baruchel's like, well, I could take a look at the map, if you want. And he's like, no, I'll hold on to the map. And then they finish all of that up, and they're getting ready to go across the river. And Robert Downey Jr. comes up to him and is like, hey, man, sorry about earlier. I was going crazy. You're looking pretty shredded up. You're looking good. I'm trying to look good, like remember in Rambo 1, he looked good, but he was kind of puffy. But then in Rambo 2, he's looking lean and all shredded like that. That's how you look right now, man. And he's like, and he goes, oh, thanks. And he goes, got any tips? Which is, we say all the time, got any tips?
The way he says it, the look in his eyes when he does, got any tips?
I'm just trying to get to your level, man. And he goes, oh, I don't know, eat clean, exercise. And then as Ben Stiller's talking, he snatches the map away from him and goes, give me that goddamn map.
and then Ben Stiller goes, and he goes, fuck you, as he's walking away.
And he hands it to Jay Baruchel, who confirms they're lost. And because before that, Robert Downey Jr. is like, I'm not walking anymore. He goes, we're lost, man. We're super fucking lost. Like, and of course they're lost. So then but that's such a good joke. And the fact that they mirror the peeing thing, and they're both telling him different stuff, and they have to
they both think they're being sly. Like, I don't really have to pee.
The callback to those jokes are so funny. Like, I think I can talk about jokes in this movie for days. The fact that Nick Nolte has hands, because he shows up as Sergeant Tayback. He's got 2 hooks for hands, and then him and Danny McBride are doing all the demolitions, and they get captured by Red Dragon, and they go to grab him, and they pull his hands. His hook hands off, and he's just got regular hands, and he's just regular.
Right before Red Dragon gets there, they get in a little tussle, and Danny McBride pulls both of his hooks off his hands.
Yeah,
and then there's a slow reveal because he's putting his hands up when they're firing. That he should. But to call back to that. Later in the movie, when Kurt Lazarus is the Australian guy, when the first time he sees Four Leaf, there's like a big to-do. There's a bunch of shit happening, and he goes, "You've got hands? Fuck, you've got hands!"
Yeah, well, everybody does, because somebody goes to rescue him too, and they go like, "Oh fuck, you have hands!" Like every time.
Well, so Al Pacino walks into the shed that they're being held in. And he's like, he's kind of telling them what happens. And Nick Nolte says something, and Danny McBride goes, "He has hands."
Yeah, and Nolte's playing like this badass dude, and it turns out he wasn't even in the platoon that he wrote the book about. He was in the National Guard or something.
He's in the Coast Guard. He's never left the United States.
Right, and he's so he's like doing Stolen Valor, and he's playing this like the horror Apocalypse Now guy, like a Marlon Brando style dude. It's like, I don't know, there's just so many jokes. It's so funny.
Well, there's so when he steals the map, there's, because this is a brilliant storyline, and there's the trailer moment where meaning this one was actually in the trailer. There's actually a trailer moment in the movie, but this one was actually in the trailer. Fucking Ben Stiller, Tug Speedman is like, "I don't know what's wrong with you people," and Lincoln Osiris goes, "Hey, what do you mean, you people?" And then it's a perfect shot because Kurt Lazarus is Lincoln Osiris is in the foreground, and he doesn't see Al Pacino to our back left, his back right. And when he says, "What do you mean, you people?" Al Pacino gives a perfect look over to him and goes, "What do you mean, you people?" And then at that point, Kurt Lazarus doesn't realize that Al Pacino's talking to him, so he goes, "Huh?" And then he like realizes that he turns around and looks at him. But then Ben Stiller is like, they're like, "Where?" Ben Stiller's like, "Fuck you guys can go follow the map. I'm gonna go on my own." And they're like, "Why are you going on your own?" He's like, "I'm going to," whatever he says, like scene 5, whatever. He's page 83, scene 5 or whatever. He's like, Four Leaf goes through the scary jungle alone or something. And so he goes on this one, and then he kills a panda bear, and he calls his by the way, McConaughey
10 out of 10
kills it
as
in this movie.
The disingenuous agent sort of swarmy guy. He's fantastic.
Well, and he has a character resurrection.
Yes, he does. He does redeem himself, but he is just like an agent. He's so obsessed with the TiVo, that making sure that Ben Stiller's happy with the TiVo, that it hasn't been hooked up yet. And he goes, "What do you mean it hasn't been hooked up yet?" And Ben Stiller goes, "They have digital cable. It's fine."
And no matter what, like all the shitty things that are happening around him, he's focused on the TiVo because he's worried if he doesn't get TiVo done, Tug Speedman is going to drop him,
leave the agency
as his guy. But speaking of McConaughey, we got to go to Tom Cruise.
Low key performance of the movie.
Maybe it was my head injury. When I first watched this movie, I didn't realize that was Tom Cruise till the end of the movie. But now it's very obvious. But like when I had hit my head, I don't know if
I was in danger.
I was very high. I was very high. I was like, man, that guy's got big arms. My favorite line of Tom Cruise's, because we're sticking to jokes here. We can go to performances later, obviously. My favorite line is when McConaughey's talking to Flaming Dragon on the phone.
Oh, I think I called him Red Dragon earlier. That's a wrestling thing. Yeah, Flaming Dragon.
Yeah, well, I do it all the time. I actually rewound it at one point to find out if it was Red Dragon or Flaming Dragon. But I rewound it also to hear this line again. "We are Flaming Dragon," and he's like, "Okay, Flaming Dragon, fuckface." the delivery of fuckface.
Yeah, well,
like everybody focuses on the "why don't you take a step back and fuck your own face" or whatever, but the way that he delivers fuckface, he's like, "Oh, Flaming Dragon, fuckface."
Yeah, well, and whenever he's talking, so eventually it gets to they're holding Speedman hostage. Flaming Dragon's holding him hostage. They want $50 million, and the guy on the other end of the phone, that's the gag. But they're trying to convince McConaughey, "Hey, we're gonna let them kill Tug Speedman, because if they kill him, then we'll make more off the insurance money than the movie could lose." And Bill Hader is so good as his assistant, his gross
he's perfect.
assistant. But my favorite line, which I don't think I had heard until this time when I watched it, is he's talking to McConaughey, and he goes, "Speedman is a dying star. The kids aren't dressing up as Scorcher for Purim anymore." And I was like, what a weird, specific, shitty thing to say about a guy. We're not selling enough Scorcher costumes, so it's fine if we kill this guy or let him die. And he goes, "Now this is where it's fun for you," because his name is Pecker, is McConaughey's character.
It's something Peck. I can't remember what his first name is. Ben Stiller was originally going to play that role, and then Tom Cruise was going to play that role.
Yeah, and then Cruise said that he wanted to play a gross studio exec and have giant hands, and he wanted to dance. Those were like his conditions to be in this movie, because Tom Cruise is kind of out. I didn't look up the Tom Cruise stuff, but I think this is the real height of like, oh, Tom Cruise is like a crazy Scientologist weirdo guy. Before he just started making awesome Mission Impossible movies again, and everyone forgot about that part. But the fact that he's in this movie is crazy, and he's having so much fun, and it's like the one time you really get to see Tom Cruise weirdly as like, not, "Hey, I'm Tom Cruise,"
he really like commits to this character. And I've never heard anybody say about, like, everybody talks about how amazing his character was in this movie. And to give more credit to the line that you talked about, the Purim line, it is just a subtle line to show that he didn't say Halloween, he said Purim.
Right.
Because he is a studio executive, therefore he is Jewish.
But just like, and then he goes, he offers a bunch of money to Matthew McConaughey and a G5 plane, and Matthew McConaughey is going, "You want me to let my friend of 25 years, my best friend, my client, die alone in a jungle for some money and an airplane?" And Tom Cruise goes, "Yes." And he goes, "A G5 airplane." Like, it is. And lots of money. and then
he just starts dancing.
Like he thinks he's won. But just the line delivery by McConaughey, just making sure there's a G5 airplane we're talking about. Right.
Because he goes for some money and a G5.
Oh yeah, that's what he's.
And then he says yes, and then he gets closer and he goes, a G5 airplane.
One of the other great setups is whenever they're going to settle down for the night, and now Robert Downey Jr. is like giving the backstory of the Lincoln Osiris character, and he's like, "I used to be a saucier down in San Antone. I bet I could collar up some of them greens," which again goes to your point. He doesn't know that it's just called collard greens. That's the type of green.
About that too.
Like,
you're not collaring the greens,
right? But he's not. He's doing surface level research. He thinks dyeing his skin will make him black in this movie, and he's like, maybe I could get some crawfish out of the patty, huh? And then Brandon T. Jackson, Al Pacino, is like, "Oh, that's how we all talk? That's how you think we all talk?" He's like, "I had to be in this movie because there was one good role to give to a black guy, and they gave it to Crocodile Dundee." And he goes, "Pump your brakes, kid. That man's a national treasure." He goes, "You're Australian. Be Australian."
You're Australian. We quote that one all the time too. But the brilliance of that part, this is the first time I've really noticed this part, is that he's doing this really offensive caricature of black people. But as soon as the black guy starts making fun of Australian culture, he gets so offended.
Well,
he's like, "I'm sorry, did a dingo eat your baby?" He goes, "That was a real story, huh? A woman lost a kid."
Which is also terrible, because maybe a dingo ate your baby is a terrible thing to say to someone, because a dingo really did eat her baby, but no one believed her for like years. And it became like a joke, kind of like the McDonald's hot coffee woman, where if you really look into that story, that's a terrible thing that happened to that lady. Like,
oh yeah, and McDonald's, I've been on record, coffee's too hot. Everybody's coffee's too hot.
And they were negligent as shit. This wasn't the first time that had happened, but they're like, "Oh, spill some coffee on you at McDonald's and you sue." Everybody's so sue happy. And it's like, that lady just wanted her medical bills covered from the searing hot coffee that got handed to her. But yeah, so dingo ate your baby is like, that's so funny that he's like, "That's a real story. Lady lost her kid." But
so like he can just do all of this offensive stuff towards black people. As soon as they make fun of Crocodile Dundee, this crossed the line. He's sensitive as shit.
Yeah, I guess I hadn't thought of that, but it again is, okay, Al Pacino is calling him on his shit. He's the audience going like, "Hey man, you can't do that." Like, all this shit you're doing, you can't do that.
And he's like, "I can do that." And then as soon as the guy makes fun of Australia, he's like, "Hey, you can't do that.
Hold on." How dare you make fun of this lady and her baby?
And Bill Burr talks about that a lot, where like a lot of people laugh at offensive jokes when it doesn't apply to something that is near and dear to them. That's why I think it's important for you and I to make fun of the terrible things that have happened in our lives, because like we can't be like, no, don't talk about that. I'm going to make fun of this guy who died, or you know what I mean? Yeah. Like that's when you're being disingenuous, and that's when you're not being fair, and that's when you're being discriminatory, right? And it's like, oh yeah, I'm not black. I can make fun of black people. You better not make fun of my dead mom.
Right.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? It's like,
That's
that's.
but like, and it's such good writing. I think this movie's very well written. I think my one the gag that I was gonna say is the character who plays the guy on the phone for Flaming Dragon when he's
He was great.
getting cussed out by Tom Cruise. It'd be real funny if it was Tom Hanks too. But if he
Yeah, would have been funny.
when they cut back to him for his reaction shot after Les Grossman has like ranged him over the fire. I'll throw down unholy hell on you. I own the Pan Pacific. You'll have to get a binding resolution from the UN to stop what I'm doing to you. It just cuts back to that guy, and he's got this look on his face where he's like looking through the.
He's like, what?
Yeah, and they do it twice, and it works both times. It's so funny. And that
no, I completely agree. That dude is great. He's been in other things. I've seen him in other things. I'm like, it's the Flaming Dragon guy.
That guy deserves all the money. Give that guy money.
He's got a funny face. Like not, and I'm not saying he's an ugly guy. I'm saying he's got a funny face, like a face that makes funny expressions.
And so, but for gags, I don't know a lot of, well, the gags that work, but this movie is it's written. It's about jokes more than gags, I think. So I
gotta admit, dude, I think this is a gag heavy
really
movie.
Okay, because
Robert Downey Jr.'s makeup is a gag.
I suppose so. Yes.
The farts in the Fatties movie is a gag. The Fatties movie whole thing is a gag. Right. The director exploding and
holding the head.
Ben Stiller talking with his head on the bayonet is a gag. I think this movie, because I had the same thought at first, but Ben Stiller, when they get in the firefight right after the director dies, and he's shooting with one arm and he's got his other arm off to the side like this.
So it looks cool. He's like, that's the fucking trailer right there.
And he kisses the grenade before he throws it, and the idea that we're gonna get booty sweat into the movie is a gag. The Jeff Portnoy just having horrible withdrawals the whole time, and is when how about this, when this part made me laugh really loud in the theater, when the climax fight is happening, when they're reenacting the 4-leaf rescue, and there's chaos happening everywhere, and everybody's like, everything's exploding and all this stuff, and it just cuts to Jack Black laying on his back on the ground like a baby, right? And it's one of those war movies where everybody's voices are like muffled. You know, it's like they like force tinnitus on the listener, so like you can't really hear because the bombs have fucked up your hearing. And Jack Black is laying on his back with his legs in the air, and he's got his hands on his hips, and he's just going, my ass.
Oh yeah, after they get shot with the missile. Yeah.
Tom Cruise's character is a gag. Like this whole movie, everything.
I guess that's true. Where they're torturing Tug Speedman and they're like waterboarding him, and in between every waterboard, he's coming up and going, "Damien, cut!"
Yeah, Damien, cut! He still doesn't realize that he's being fucking tortured. And so
the Simple Jack, the Simple Jack stage play, I suppose, is part gag, part jokes.
When he goes, he goes, no, play it real or whatever, and he goes, paw, and as soon as he says paw, the guy hits him with the butt of his gun.
Well, and at the end of that, this is probably a joke, but whatever, he's doing his Simple Jack thing, and they're like, his mom's dead, and they're like, when's she gonna come back? And they go, she's in heaven now, Jack. And he goes, I'll see you tonight in my head movies, but I don't like this head movie. It makes my eyes rain. and they're Al Pacino and Kurt Lazarus are watching the performance happening, and Kurt Lazarus is giving him notes still. They're about to try to rescue this dude from a real heroin plant, and he's like, actually, to his credit, he's pulled back some, and so now the audience can engage, create a real emotional connection. That's acting right there. And then they hit the dude, they hit Ben Stiller with a gun in the ribs, and he goes, ooh, kidney shot. Like, he's just reacting to everything he's seeing.
And the other thing with Simple Jack is, I don't know if, how many people picked up on this, but he's basically got like a green room now.
Right.
So like he's washing his makeup off, and he's got a mirror, but his mirror has candles all around it, like a vanity mirror. He's like, I play 5 nights a week to sold out crowds.
5 times a day. 5 times a day to
5 times a day.
Yeah. And there's a little one of the people that works there's a little kid, and and the little kid has given him a tiny stick Oscar, and he decides he's going to adopt that kid, and he goes, I'm going to call you, what is he, something terrible, half squat. And he goes, you can call me Papa. And later, then whatever they're talking about, so sorry to backtrack.
Dude, that just reminded me of maybe my favorite part of the movie.
To backtrack, when they catch Speedman and they realize they're torturing him, and there's one of the other gags is the leader of this heroin plant is a little kid. He's like 12, right? And he's got like a dragon tattoo on his chest, right? But he's beating the shit out of Speedman because he thinks that he's with the DEA, and he starts hitting him, and Simple Jack goes, or Speedman goes, please don't hurt me. And that makes them realize that he played Simple Jack, and they're like, we love this movie. And a guy off to the side goes, you should have won an Oscar. And he goes, oh, it's just an honor to be nominated. And he goes, you were nominated? And he goes, no, but if I would have been, that would have been.
He's like, there's a lot of politics. You have to take out ads, and they
and he goes, you shut up. And he goes, okay. But the fact that he can't, even in this situation, the guy gives him a compliment about his acting, and then he has to go into the whole politics of how somebody becomes an Oscar nominee. And then
that's very Monty Python.
And they bring out the Simple Jack copy that they have, and it's a VHS, and his response is, oh, the VHS. Like, he's stuck in Laos. It pitches the vanity of actors. Maybe that's the thing. And I know we're harping on that a lot, but like, it pitches the vanity of actors so well in this movie. That all of the comedy sort of comes from that place. That is very Monty Python. You're right. Like, some call me Tim. That,
Yeah, it's the King of the Who type thing where it's or no, it's more the debating if a swallow can carry a coconut with the king standing in front of you.
Right.
It's like he's got this drug lord in front of him, and he's just having this normal conversation as an actor because he can't turn that off, And the half squat thing is like, no matter what, he still thinks he's saving these people. It is literally the white people going to Africa for their own perspective and not to actually build wells for the African people, right? And he's like at the thing that made me laugh the hardest, I remember this on my first watch of this movie, is he says, I've got a son now. His name's Half Squat, and I have to be here for him. He needs me. And so he's like, because the climax is happening. They're trying to save Ben Stiller, and Ben Stiller's like, no, I'm going to stay with these people. I play 5 times a day to sold out crowds. And he's like, and I've got a son now and all this stuff. So it's the part of the movie where it's like,
they're going to leave. Everybody else is leaving. Danny McBride's got the helicopter. They're all going to take off. And Kurt Lazarus, who has now become Kurt Lazarus, is like, hey, we got to fucking go. And he's like, no, I have to stay behind. It's that scene in the movie where now Avatar and Dances with Wolves and all this shit. Like, oh, I'm the white savior. I've come to save these people.
These are my people now. And so he walks down this bridge and he walks away from them. And this is what sets up the 4-leaf getting the platoon shot. because you hear a bunch of commotion after he goes across the bridge and gunshots and a bunch of shit. And he starts running back and he's like, never mind. Let's go get me in the chopper or whatever he's saying. And Half Squat has him by the neck and is stabbing him over and over again. And that shot of Half Squat stabbing him, I was cracking up in the theater, and that's a gag.
And when he throws him off, and it's just this little kid's body goes careening over the side of this bridge,
cartwheeling in the sky over the bridge.
And then they show him, and the best part is they show, okay, the Half Squat is okay, and he like gets out of the water, and then he sits down and he crosses his arms and like makes a face. That's so satisfying.
Sad.
There's the end part, this might be the most famous part of the movie, where Speedman's in now. He's playing 5 times a day to sold out crowds. Kurt Lazarus shows up as Lincoln Osiris, is like, we got to fucking go. And he's like, I live here now. My son made me this. And he shows him the little Oscar, and Robert Downey Jr. goes, oh. and he goes, I call him Stickman. And he goes, does he want to come with us? It made me laugh really hard. But then they get into the, like you said, the insecurity of both of the actors, where he's like, I don't think you know what dude you are. And of course, Robert Downey Jr.'s maybe the most famous line in this movie, I know who I am. I'm a dude playing a dude disguised as another dude.
You're the dude that don't know what dude he is.
I'm a dude playing a dude disguised as another dude. And then they're suddenly Kurt Lazarus has this realization where he's like, I'm not Lincoln Osiris. And then he pulls off the wig and he goes, nor am I Father O'Malley, or whatever. And then he pulls the beard off and he goes, nor am I Neil Armstrong. And he's because he mentions in the movie earlier that he played Neil Armstrong, and then they found him outside the Paramount lot trying to re-enter Earth's atmosphere in a refrigerator box.
Refrigerator
just
box,
a really great line. And he takes out the contacts, and now he's Robert Downey Jr. as Kurt Lazarus, the Australian guy. And he goes, maybe I don't know who I am at all. And finally, Jay Baruchel's like, fuck all of you dudes. He's like, the insecurity in this room is insane. He's like, Kurt, when I was in theater school, I memorized every monologue you ever did, man. You made me want to be an actor. And he goes, really? And Al Pacino goes, yeah, man, that first Scorcher movie, I saw that 8 times in the theater, man. That fucking ruled. And they're like, oh, really? And so now they're back in again, because now they had the adulation, even if it's from the other guys that are in the movie. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's just really, it is really well written to me. I really enjoyed it. You're right. It is more gag heavy than I thought. I'm going to increase my gag score. I'm going 7 on gags. Like the gags.
I went with a 9 for gags. Because I think, like I said, I think everything in this movie's a gag.
Right.
The whole thing's a gag. It's the little tiny things. And one of the things that I have a video queued up. I just found it, but I'm going to show it during performances, but it's also a bit of a gag, you know? So, it's just like the little tiny things that they, like I said, Ben Stiller throwing his arms up like Platoon is a gag. Like, so, I went with a 9 for gags, and I gave Dumb and Dumber an 8 for gags. So I gave him better. Wow. I gave it better gags than Dumb and Dumber. So it's actually going to be really close. By the way. So let's go to performances next.
Everybody who's featured in this movie to get some sort of specific screen time kills it. I can't think of anybody who's bad in this thing. Like,
no. Even the key grip who punches Ben Stiller in the face.
Or no, he punches Steve Coogan. Punched that guy real fucking hard in the face.
Yeah. You punched that director in the face real fucking hard. He's like, sorry.
Yeah. So I don't.
He's holding food. He's like holding food. He's like, he hands the food.
Where's the key grip? Tom Cruise is I have to give it a 10 out of 10 because everybody's also being tasked. Not everybody. A lot of the people are being tasked with playing separate things too. Like Nick Nolte is supposed to be playing Captain Four-Leaf, badass military guy, and also Four-Leaf the coward. And he does a great job at both of those things. Pairing him and Danny McBride up was genius. Because Danny McBride is funny as fuck in this movie for the little bit of time,
he's so
the little
good.
bit of time that he
He's
gets.
so he's like, what did he say? He lost a finger on Driving Miss Daisy, which was his first gig. How do you lose a finger on driving? All the pyro in that movie.
After this, I think I'm going to switch to catering.
He said, who did he almost blind?
Oh, fuck, I can't remember. That's really funny.
Find it.
Bill Hader, I want to shout out the smaller performances. Bill Hader as the assistant to Les Grossman is so funny. Whenever they're talking,
I almost blinded Jamie Lee Curtis in Freaky Friday
for all the pyro in that movie. Whenever Bill Hader is talking with Matthew McConaughey's character about how they're going to kill or let Tux Beeman die. And Tom Cruise is like, if they go, you're going to let him, or Matthew McConaughey goes, you're going to let him die? And Tom Cruise goes, and we will mourn him in the press. And then later, much later, we will file an insurance claim. And Bill Hader chimes in and he goes, preferably before the end of the fiscal year. Like, big dick player swinging past your knees. Like, I thought
swinging past your knees.
Brandon T. Jackson, who plays Al Pacino, is playing Al Pacino, the hyper masculine rapper who then turns out to be a gay man. And it's one of those things too where it's funny that he's got this whole empire. He's supposed to be this dude, but he sews all his own clothes, like, which is a thing that a lot of, like, that you don't know early for a lot of rappers, is like they have to do their own hustle, and you don't realize that it's them who's doing all of the sort of menial labor too. They're not just Al Pacino, in front of everybody. And then of course, fucking Robert Downey Jr. and Ben Stiller both are pitch perfect for this movie. So it's got to be 10s across the board for me.
Yeah, I gave it a 10. Everybody's perfect. Jack Black is super good. Like, when what is the line that he delivers when he I wrote it down because I know I wrote it down. Oh, if you guys want to go through with this, you're gonna have to strap me to a tree. The way that he delivers it, and he grabs Jay Baruchel by the jacket and pulls him in when he says it. Like, Jack Black does some,
and he does it again. He goes, "You're gonna have to strap me to a tree," and then he grabs him and he goes, "A tree." Like, well, and he's like, whenever they're planning it, he comes over to Jay Baruchel and he goes, "Oh, hey man, if it's cool, like, I'm just gonna hang out here, watch the stuff for the mission." And then there's a scene where he's when they do the mission, and the two of the Flaming Dragon guys catch him while he's trying to get to the drugs, and he farts accidentally, and they start laughing, and it fills him with rage because earlier in the movie he goes, "People don't like me. They just laugh at my farts." And they're like, "No, Jeff, you're great." And he goes, "No." He's like having this whole existential crisis about who he is as a person. So when they laugh at him, it fills him with rage, and he drives the heroin into both of their faces, and he goes, "Come on, we got to hurry. They're going to wake up in the next 16 hours." Yeah, I think he's underrated because he's not doing as bombastic a thing as obviously Robert Downey Jr. is, or Ben Stiller, but he's got the funny lines in this movie.
Well, and speaking of Bill Hader, this movie and Pineapple Express came out a week apart.
Yeah, Bill Hader at the beginning of Pineapple Express.
It was so good, and that was a lot of people's intro to Bill. Like, I recognized him, but I didn't know Bill Hader. Like, like, it was a face I knew, but like, he was so good at the beginning of Pineapple Express, which I'm sure I saw the first week.
Yeah, I saw Pineapple Express. I saw an old couple from my church in the theater that I was in for that movie, and I was like, "What are you guys doing here?" And they're like, "I don't know. We thought it looked funny." And I go, "All right." All right, yeah. Then I saw them at church on Sunday, and they're like, "Pretty funny, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, I think so. And so then after that, I was very friendly with them. I'm like, all right, these are cool. These people seem cool.
So apparently they wanted to do a second Pineapple Express. Sorry, I just saw this. And Apatow said, I think we probably wanted too much money. He placed the necessary cost of the sequel at $50 million, while Sony capped it at $45 million. It's like $5 million.
You're not going to make, because Pineapple Express was like a huge hit.
Yeah,
that's also Danny McBride. Yeah. As Red.
Oh man, that might be his magnum opus as Red in that movie. Trying to get a motherfucking scholarship.
We didn't talk about one of the best scenes in the movie. They're doing the thing to save Speedman, and so everyone's going undercover, and Robert Downey Jr. and Jack Black are going to distract the soldiers, and he comes down because he's like, I learned Mandarin Chinese for this movie I was in. I worked in a textile factory for 6 weeks.
Third Oscar, second Globe.
And they've got Jack Black over the back of Ox, and he's trying to talk to the leader of Flaming Dragon, and it's clear that he knows like some Chinese, but he doesn't know enough. And he's talking in Chinese, and then all of a sudden he goes, electrolytes. Like they're like, why do you sound so weird? And he's like, I'm dehydrated, I need electrolytes.
That's so layered because he can't stop doing the black accent. He's literally having to do a heist doing a Mandarin, which I'm sure he can do a much better Mandarin accent as being the man that he is, but he can't stop doing the black accent because the DVD commentary hasn't happened yet. So he has to do a black guy doing a Mandarin accent.
He's a dude playing a dude being another dude, you know? That's his whole thing. And then they ask him what he farms, and this is one of the, I'm a lead farmer, motherfucker, is because he starts shooting, and he says some line, and that I didn't remember, and I was like, doesn't he say I'm a lead farmer, motherfucker? And then
I was waiting for that one too.
They come in close on him, and he crosses the gut like he's still in a movie. Like that's going to be a trailer shot, and that's the trailer line. I'm a lead farmer, motherfucker. It's great. So
10 for performances from both of us. Let's go to let's go to MVP. Do you want me to go, or do you want to go?
Yeah, you can go.
The obvious choice, in my opinion, is Robert Downey Jr. But Ben Stiller directed this movie.
Yeah.
And wrote this movie. So as if in a vacuum, the comedic performances, it's literally 1A and 1B. But I think Robert Downey Jr. might have had a better canvas to paint on, but I still go Robert Downey Jr. 1A, Ben Stiller 1B in this scenario. But the fact that Ben Stiller helped conceived of this idea, had a very large part in writing this movie, and directed it, I have to give Ben Stiller the MVP for this movie.
I was on the fence too. I think it's a 2-person race, like you said, obviously.
Yeah. Everybody's great, but this is
I was watching a commentary with Vince Vaughn, where it was the GQ thing where they go through your career and you talk about each movie. And and he was saying in Dodgeball, he has to play the more subdued character because he's the lead. He's the audience surrogate. And his performances, people remember him more for Old School or Wedding Crashers or whatever, where he's not the lead of that movie. The movie's emotional stakes are not on his shoulders, so he can just do whatever he wants. Like he can really play it up. And I think that's the situation we're talking about here, where it's like, Robert Downey Jr.'s so good in this movie, and he's so funny, but he is just a character. Like he doesn't have to do any of the heavy lifting. I think that Tug Speedman is our surrogate into the movie. He's the lead of the movie, and I think Ben Stiller does a great job, like walking that fine line between being empathetic towards him. You want to like Tug Speedman, but he's also hilarious. Like he's in a lot of the really funny scenes in this movie, and it's on his back, I think. And so I give it to Ben Stiller also.
Yeah, and I think most people, you tell them, hey, tell me the MVP of Tropic Thunder in 3 seconds. I'd say the vast majority of the people are going to say Robert Downey Jr. And that was my instinct at the beginning. But like, if it really comes down to it, the most valuable person in this movie is Ben Stiller. And
well, that's kind of been the through thread for this whole thing is like Graham Chapman's not the funniest guy in Holy Grail. He's very funny, but he doesn't get all of the funniest stuff. But he's the MVP of that movie because the movie doesn't work without him being King Arthur. Like the groundedness of him allows for the silliness of everyone else, you know?
Yeah.
And I think
him just, he can't understand why people don't respect him.
Right. And it's so frustrating to him, you know, you make me sad, Sir Knight, you know? And I think that's the same thing here. It's like everybody else gets to play as big as they want. And Stiller certainly plays big, but he also has to be the person that we want to succeed in the movie, you know, like,
yeah.
And so again, he's like, his character's so funny, and he's so funny against Robert Downey Jr.'s character. So
yeah, 100%. And I forgot to actually play this during the performances. I teased it and didn't deliver. Jesus Christ.
This is Chekhov's clip.
This scene between Al Pacino, this is somebody filming their screen. This is the best I could find. Al Pacino and Robert Downey Jr. While they're watching the Simple Jack thing. Yeah. Listen to the sound that Robert Downey Jr. makes when he's slapped in this scene.
Break down the aesthetic distance.
I'm going to play it again. I rewound it while I was watching it.
Aesthetic distance.
And we didn't talk about, I don't know how we, well, you know, we talk about it, I guess, but like the one wild thing in this movie is that Robert Downey Jr. drops an N-word in this movie.
No, he doesn't.
Or no, that's right. Brandon T. Jackson calls him that.
Yeah. Al Pacino says the N-word, but so Al Pacino says the N-word. He's like, this whatever N-word, and immediately Robert Downey Jr. slaps him and then pulls him in for a hug, and he goes, for 400 years. That word.
The shared experience of him as an Australian acting, right? And then he's like, now we up in the big leagues, taking our turn at bat. As long as we live, it's you and me, baby. Ain't nothing wrong with that. And then Brandon T. Jackson, who's selling the shock of his character, but is sort of like maybe with Robert Downey Jr. for that second, pushes him off and goes, man, that's the theme song from the Jeffersons. And he goes, just because it's a theme song doesn't make it true. Like, it's so funny.
Just the initial, like, when he says for 400 years, everybody knows where he's going with this monologue, and he can say whatever he wants the rest of the monologue. That is when the effect of the joke is like, for 400 years. We're like, oh god, this is where he's
and
going.
Like you said,
anyway.
It speaks to his obliviousness, the character's obliviousness, and the like, the right that actors feel to like claim something because they've dealt with the sanitized version of whatever it is. Oh, I went to boot camp, you know, like now I have the authentic experience of being a World War II veteran or whatever it was, you know, for 400 years.
For 400 years.
Yeah, I just think that everybody's bringing their A game. Everybody's at the perfect pitch. We talked about Tom Cruise some. Tom Cruise is so goddamn funny in this movie. As Les. So we've reached, what are we at? Favorite moment?
Let me look. I think Favorite moment. We'll go favorite moment before rewatchability.
I don't know. Do you have one?
It's hard to nail one down. Watching it, I might have gotten the most joy out of that Robert Downey Jr. Exclamation when he gets shot.
Yeah.
when he gets fucking slapped in the face. That's the trailer moment right there. Is so cringeworthy that because we kind of broke it down. The first firefight they get into, Ben Stiller gets on his knees and he puts his arms out and he's like shooting his gun with one arm, and then he kisses a grenade and throws it into the jungle, and it happens to Danny McBride happens to ignite the pyro at the perfect time, and then he turns around and he's like, that's your trailer right there. And that's when you realize that he is still just a stuck up his ass actor. The Survive, it might be, dude, actually I'm gonna go with what has been my favorite moment of this movie since the first time I watched it. Ben Stiller reemerging over that bridge with half squat stabbing him in the neck is my favorite part.
A part we didn't talk about that we quote a lot that might be my favorite part of the movie, whenever they're talking about their Ben Stiller's trying to relate to Kurt Lazarus and saying like, oh yeah, I went method, you went method. We talked about part of that scene earlier, but whenever they're talking about it, he's like, man, I didn't know how to get out of that character. And Robert Downey Jr. is like, and he goes, I started to feel like maybe I was a moron. And he goes, yeah, to be moronical. And he goes, yeah. And he's like, stupid ass Jack. The dumbest, maybe the
in the movie.
Yeah, and he goes, yeah, stupid ass Jack. Maybe the dumbest motherfucker who ever lived. That.
What does he say? You was farting in bathtubs.
Laughing your ass off. I think maybe Survive is my favorite part of this movie because there's stuff happening in the background too. Jack Black's getting a wedgie from being in the helicopter, and he's like, "What the fuck is happening?" And they've stabbed Jay Baruchel's character, and he has fake intestines coming out, and he's going like, "What do I do with these?" Well, like he's like, "That's."
He's like, "I think I can put it back
that's
in."
Not good, and then like, so funny, and then it's so early in the movie, and it sets the tone so right for what it is, you know. So that might be my favorite part.
I think that's good. Rewatchability.
I haven't watched it in a long time. I enjoyed it the same as I have any other time that I've watched it. There are jokes that I got this time I didn't get before, which leads me to believe that there's probably more stuff in this that I might find, or I'll just enjoy it. I'm putting as a movie person, it might be surprising. I don't rewatch a ton of stuff because I'm trying to watch new movies, but this is a pretty high rewatchable score. I give it like a 7.
Okay, yeah, I gave Dumb and Dumber a 9 in rewatchability. I'm giving this an 8.5.
Okay.
And I think we're seeing rewatchability, like our scales are slightly different from each other in terms of that, because you're probably more likely to rewatch this movie than I am, even though you don't rewatch a lot of movies. I just never watch movies at all. But when it comes to these movies, I think this isn't as easy a watch as Dumb and Dumber. Dumb and Dumber is a very passively fun movie to watch. It's very light. It's shorter. All these things, but I do think it's very rewatchable. I think because like you said, I enjoyed this movie as much as I ever have.
Well, and I think your tip from Dumb and Dumber is important too. Like, I won't rewatch this movie next week or next month or something, but in like 3 or 4 years, if I'm just trying to do something and I think, or like, I'm like, oh man, I haven't watched Tropic Thunder in a while. I bet the jokes are just as funny to me because I won't run these jokes into the ground, and they have such a hold on even my regular conversations. I mean, I guess I don't quote it as much with other people as I do with you, but like
we quote this movie as much as almost any movie.
The dumbest motherfucker who ever lived. One of the to be moronical is all of that stuff is really requotable. or if one of us gets sick, we'll send the other one the survive gif. Like, you know, it has iconic moments. Like, I don't know that this movie holds a place in people's hearts the same way, and I can understand a lot of people not holding it that way, because like I said, there's stuff in this movie that if you had a problem with it, I would understand it. But like, I think that the intention is in the right place, and I just think it's really funny. So
no, I completely agree with you. I think, you know, there's certain things I think, and like I said, I think a lot of the people who think that this movie doesn't hold up because of the offensiveness of it haven't really watched this movie for what it is. Some of them maybe have, but I think a lot of people just see blackface and don't realize what the actual point of the blackface was, because some people just watch movies to watch movies. They see the joke, they process the joke, and they move on. They don't think about the broader context of the joke, and that's fine. I'm not, like I said, I'm not mad at them. I just think they're a little bit misunderstanding the point of all this. But I think this movie holds up really well. There's not a lot of things that really date this movie because actors are going to be like this forever.
It certainly holds up much better than the 40-Year-Old Virgin did. Like,
100%.
You know, and the cringy stuff in this doesn't feel as cringy to me as the stuff in 40-Year-Old Virgin. Like, a lot of the stuff we talked about last week, where it's like, oh man, I don't know that I don't find this funny at all anymore.
No,
you know,
because this was much more well thought out. Like there's a broader point to this movie beyond, like, this movie kind of makes the 40-Year-Old Virgin less good for me.
Right. It's entirely of its time, the 40-Year-Old Virgin. And I think this is, like you said, this is funny forever because this is how movies are. This is how actors are, to a certain degree. Like, the narcissism is always one of the better things to take down in comedy, because it never goes away, because there's always people that this applies to.
And it's fun to make fun of the elite. You know what I mean? So I don't care if the actors get their feelings hurt. So that's Tropic Thunder. I've got some surprising results from our ratings. I just, while we were talking right now, did the averages of I'm kind of not doing the averages of 40-Year-Old Virgin because I know they didn't win in terms of the numbers. I'm saying we don't have to go by the numbers on this. But we don't, it doesn't have to be definitive, but you can go by your numbers straight up. You're not beholden to anything. Okay. I have the figures that we wrote down for Monty Python, but just looking at them, they're not going to win in terms of numbers. So I'm just going to focus on, and I'm sure Jackass isn't going to win just because of the numbers. Like, the jokes aren't close. There's zero story. Like, it's hard to, you know. So, do you want to guess which one that you rated higher between Dumb and Dumber and Tropic Thunder, or do you want me to just tell you?
I feel like it's got to be Tropic Thunder, but I might be wrong.
Okay, so for Tropic Thunder, you rated jokes 8, gags 7, story 10, rewatchability 8.5. Oh wait, rewatchability 7, and performances 10.
Yeah.
Let me make sure I write that down. I didn't have rewatchability written down, but I did factor it into my thing here. That is an average score of 8.7.
Wow. Yeah.
Pretty solid. Yeah. For Dumb and Dumber, you rated jokes 9, gags 8, story 7, rewatchability 10, performances 10.
That sounds like Dumb and Dumber's winning this.
For an average score of 8.8.
Okay.
So Dumb and Dumber wins by 0.1 on your list, which is almost improbable.
Yeah.
You know, it's definitely improbable. It's almost
in a season so improbable. The impossibles happen.
The impossibles happen. So I would have guessed that I would pick Dumb and Dumber over Tropic Thunder in the ratings. In the ratings for Tropic Thunder, I went 8.5 jokes, 9 gags, 9.5 story, 8.5 rewatchability, and 10 in performances. For an average score of, it says 9.1, but I don't think that's possible. 9.1.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Dumb and Dumber. Jokes 10, gags 8, story 8, rewatchability 9, performances 10 for an average score of 9.
So we flipped by 0.1.
By 0.1
in both directions. That's fantastic.
Yeah. That's crazy. So
we have to see which one of these movies performs better on a pommel horse.
Yeah, you son of a bitch. So I've thought about this a lot before I saw the ratings. My opinion is that Dumb and Dumber is a funnier movie than Tropic Thunder. And if you look at jokes and gags, it's an average. Yeah, that plays out because jokes I had 10 and 8, and Dumb and Dumber I had 10 and 8 for jokes and gags. Tropic Thunder had 8.5 and 9 for jokes and gags, respectively. So I did have a higher rating in jokes and gags for Dumb and Dumber, but Tropic Thunder is a better movie, in my opinion. But this whole contest is about the funniest movie, which we will get into, by the way. Is the winner of this actually the funniest movie ever made?
Yeah, I think that I can ride on the same thing that you're saying, which is I think Tropic Thunder is a better movie. I think, not to sound, after we've talked through almost 3 hours about things that are up their own ass, not to sound up my own ass, Tropic Thunder is a more difficult comedy, and maybe you get more enjoyment out of the jokes because it does have a denser story, and you do have to sort of know things that are going on, or the jokes are richer if you know more information. It's not that it's not funny on its own, but it helps with context. Dumb and Dumber is just funny for what it is. You've been plopped into this world. Here's these characters. Here's funny situations with these characters. So I think that I can agree that Dumb and Dumber is the funnier movie, while Tropic Thunder might be the more well-crafted movie.
Yeah, and let's look at your jokes and gags. 7 and 8 for Tropic Thunder, 9 and 8 for Dumb and Dumber. So it works out that way. So that's what I'd say. I think it's almost an impossible thing to compare them to Jackass 2. When did Jackass 2 come out?
2006, 2005.
I think you're right. In 2005, 2006, Jackass 2 is the funniest movie ever.
The champion for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Jackass 2 is still very funny in my opinion. Still rewatchable, funny, groundbreaking, which is very funny to say about a movie about guys getting kicked in the nuts. But in 2024, Tropic Thunder and Dumb and Dumber are more effective comedy movies. Yeah,
Jackass might be the funniest, or in contention for the funniest movie, but it's the worst movie we watched in the context of what you think of as a movie, right?
It depends on what you think of as a movie, though, because we've had this discussion before. Something doesn't have to have a plot for it to be a movie.
But or it has the least production value. But that's not what it's trying to do. It's just trying to make you laugh for 90 minutes consecutively, and it's very good at it scores high on its attempt to do that. But I think in 2024, I think that we've properly put the right ones at the top. So if you had to rank it, we watched 5 movies. Where do you put the movies?
And we're talking about in funniness. In funniness, Tropic Thunder, Dumb and Dumber, Jackass 2, 40-Year-Old Virgin. which I would not. I would have been
Wait,
surprised.
don't you have it flipped? Isn't Dumb and Dumber funnier than Tropic Thunder?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I skipped Monty Python. Fuck. I don't even know if my numbers play out like this way, but this is how I'm going to do it. Funniest, Dumb and Dumber, Monty Python and the Holy Grail, Tropic Thunder, Jackass 2, and the 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Yeah, I think I go Dumb and Dumber. I'm sure my numbers don't play this out the exact same, but like Dumb and Dumber, Holy Grail, Tropic Thunder, Jackass 2, 40-Year-Old Virgin. Even
so we have the same. Yeah, we have the same
I
one.
think it's the same. Like, and that's not to say. Again, we talked about it last week. I'm the ardent defender. It appears. I think the 40-Year-Old Virgin is still funny. I think there are parts of it that are still very funny.
It does have a lot of really funny moments.
But it's I thought like, oh, it might run away with this thing. That's the funniest goddamn movie in history, and it's at the bottom of the list now, behind a movie that I'm not even sure I consider a real movie. It's a series of sketches that they cut to feature length, but I guess that's how.
That's kind of what
that's kind of what Holy Grail is, right? But it's
the sketches do
right. The Holy Grail's got like the thinnest amount of string that something could have to pull over to make a story to put the jokes around. You know? So all right. So right now, the champion is Dumb and Dumber, number one at the top.
And if you're going by, and if we go by what's the best movies, I still put Jackass 2 over 40-Year-Old Virgin because I consider it a movie. So I go Tropic Thunder, Dumb and Dumber, Holy Grail, Jackass 2, 40-Year-Old Virgin. So I just flipped.
Yeah, I think it go well for me. It might be a little different. I go Tropic Thunder, Monty Python, Dumb and Dumber, 40-Year-Old Virgin, Jackass. I think I
think it's fair.
I
think it's fair.
But so now we've put up all the contenders that we've ever had that we've talked about for the funniest movies of all time. But in doing this podcast, we've uncovered a lot of other great movies that could theoretically be contenders. But I don't think we have to do brackets anymore. Luckily, ever again for your sanity.
God damn it.
We just have Dumb and Dumber as the benchmark, and everything else is versus Dumb and Dumber. So like, I'd love to watch Spinal Tap again at some point and see where does Spinal Tap rank. Young Frankenstein we talked about.
Yeah, man, I listened to a Conan interview Mel Brooks the other day, and I'm really disappointed I haven't seen The Producers. I need to see it.
In my opinion, the movies aren't that good.
Yeah,
they're fine.
Were you saying
there's two? There's
two producers.
There's one with Gene Wilder and like an old. It looks like vaudevillian kind of. His name's Zero something that came out in.
Yeah, that's the one I want to watch.
That's the old one, and then there's one that they made with Matthew Broderick and Nathan Lane because they ran The Producers on Broadway. They were the two guys for like a long time.
Oh, I didn't know they made one with Matthew Broderick and Nathan Lane. I want to watch.
Yeah, and it's good. Like, I think The Producers, the idea is so funny, and in a movie, it doesn't quite, or at least the movies they've made, I didn't find it to be as funny as maybe the concept theoretically was.
I gotta find this thing. There's a AFI did a list of like the funniest movies ever. The list is unbelievable. All these lists suck, but I gotta find it.
Well, they gotta weigh. The problem is they have to weigh in history. Like, I'm sure Duck Soup, the Marx Brothers movie, is still hilarious, but they have to for their to have any weight in what they're saying. They have to be like, no, this is like one of the top 5 funniest movies of all time. And I don't know, man. We've made a lot of comedy since then. And they always rank like Animal House super high, all this stuff that we've talked about where it's like maybe then, but now you don't have to give it just the base credit. if it doesn't hold up, if the jokes aren't as funny.
Oh, 100%. That's the thing. You have to be objective about it, because there is some great stuff made back then. It doesn't all hold up, but so this was in 2000, the 100 Years, 100 Laughs. The first movie that was made after 1990 on this, you will never guess the movie that they chose.
Is it My Cousin Vinny?
And I gotta find it first. Yeah, it's number 27 is the first movie that was. This was in 2000. Number 27 is the first movie made after 1990 on this list, and you will not guess what it is. It's a good movie and you'll like it, but you won't guess what it is. Do you want to guess, or do you want me to tell you what it is?
No, why don't you tell me?
There's Something About Mary.
Wow. But that's also to again, a victim of the time, because that movie's really new at that point, and it's like, they have the jizz in the hair and all that shit that they weren't doing in movies that apparently people thought like, oh, that's the funniest goddamn thing I've ever seen.
Caddyshack, number 71.
Right.
27. Yeah, there's Something About Mary.
That's a recency bias situation.
Well, and interesting thing, Mel Brooks,
and it made a bunch of money, so that
Yeah. It was big. It was a good movie. Mel Brooks has 3 of the top 15 movies. Do you want to guess the 3?
Blazing Saddles, Young Frankenstein, Spaceballs.
Blazing Saddles, number 6. The Producers, number 11.
Okay.
And Young Frankenstein, number
Maybe
13.
I'm wrong about The Producers. I could also be wrong.
Do you want to guess what number 1 is? You'll never guess. You'll never guess.
Yeah.
It would be crazy if you guessed. I would eat my hat. The hat that I'm currently wearing that says, I think it says All-Star Dad.
Hell yeah, dude. Yeah, I was going to say, did Hobbs get it for you? What's number, or do you have a context clue that you can give me that's not the movie?
Yeah, I'll give you the year the movie came out, and you won't be able to tell me what movie this is. 1959.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. I'll give you the director of the movie, Billy Wilder.
Okay.
I'll keep going because I don't think you're ever going to get this. Jack Lemmon is in this movie.
Okay. Is it the odd? Well, go ahead.
His co-star is Tony Curtis.
Is it The Odd Couple?
And Marilyn Monroe.
Oh, is it Some Like It Hot?
Something like that. Yeah.
I'd be willing to watch. Willing to watch Some Like It Hot. I've never seen it because
Tootsie's
all that.
2, by the way.
Well, he dresses up like a lady. Yeah,
it's funny. So do they in Some Like It Hot. That's funny. Some Like It Hot is 2 dudes dressed up like ladies. Tootsie, and then number 3 is Dr. Strangelove, which I watched like the first 10 minutes of.
I think that you would be into Dr. Strangelove, actually.
I need to watch the whole thing. I was with a female gentleman that was like, it was like a year ago, and she wasn't.
Peter Sellers as Dr. Strangelove is like the performance of a lifetime in that movie, because he's playing like
Duck Soup number 5.
He's playing like a Dr. Mengele style, like insane Nazi scientist that and the world's gonna end. I'd be. I'd be into it, but now like it is just everybody else running at Dumb and Dumber, So I think that's fair.
I think we should do a Mel Brooks movie. We can discuss which one we think we should do. We might. Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Yeah,
I think deserves some flowers. To be honest,
I'm gonna put I don't know. The Big Lebowski is funny. I don't know if it's a comedy. I guess it's a comedy based on its like if you had to genre-fy it,
we could do like one of these a quarter.
Yeah, that's what
we'll go back and forth and nominate,
or we'll confer with the other sometimes guests on the show to see if they've got a contender that they'd want to put up against.
And we got to do an Austin Powers.
Yeah, we got to figure out which one. We're bullish about which Austin Powers we think are the best ones. So
yeah, it's tough. It's tough because they're all good in their own ways. You know what I mean? I just the one that I've seen recently is the first one, and it's
him trying to back up that cart is one of the that's a lesson in comedy of like, hey, you don't have to do a ton of stuff. Him trying to make that cart turn is hilarious, and it's nothing. It's like, but we've all been there, and the fact that he keeps trying to do it is so funny.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Dumb and Dumber's it. Thank you for hanging out. We appreciate everybody who listens. Subscribe, please, for Andrew's sanity. Hit that like button on YouTube.
Hit the like button.
And we'll be back. And we'll be back next week because the Snart Marks podcast survive.